the back corner when I'm not presenting.
Listening in.
And listen in.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bash University Live here on Tuesday night.
Take a quick break, watch John Cruz's on the Tokyo rig.
Be a part of the show, get some chances to win some awesome prizes.
Just Bash You Go. You know, we didn't have that back then. And dude, it could just...
That text thread gives me so much energy. I mean, like I'm dialed.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bash University Live. We are back. We had a little reprieve for a couple weeks, and we're happy to be back live again. We got a great show tonight because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite ways to fish. We're going to be talking about fishing in the grass, taking it from the different types of vegetation to dense, mat fishing, northern lakes. We've got a big northern swing coming on all the tournament trails, and everybody's going to be grass fishing. So we're going to be talking about it tonight. So bring your questions. Look for the Zoom feed if you guys want to zoom in and ask your question live to us. We're going to, obviously, we'd love for you guys to do that. IM board's going to be hot. Any questions you guys have about grass or anything else fishing related, of course, we're happy to have you. Look forward to talking with you on tonight's show. And, of course, we got BTC and Riz getting us off on time, doing great, looking good. How you guys doing?
You first.
Doing great, Pete. Glad to be back on the air talking to our people. It's been a couple weeks, but it's good to be back here.
It is. It's good to be back. Everybody's been fishing, even you, BTC.
Even me.
Even you.
Even me. That's right.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that, too, because everybody here has been scoring big in their local derbs. But I'm real excited to have one of my old friends. Been fishing with him, against him for, geez, I hate to say it, man. It's got to be 25, almost 30 years.
Yes, yeah.
Has it been that long?
It's been that long, man. It's unbelievable. Dude, I was thinking about that on the way over, about how long. And I was kind of glad when you finally started fishing professionally because then it got you out of the Federation, dude. I don't have to deal with you anymore because I'll tell you right now, dude, Pete, the only guy I know that knows northern fisheries better than Pete is probably Eddie Cowan, and that is it, man. Other than that, man, your local knowledge of fishing these places, dude, is second to none.
Hey, I got to say, this is my good friend Bob Soley, two-time Classic qualifier, just a really, to me, when I was growing up fishing, Bob, I don't know if I really told you this, but your voice still echoes in my head, man. And I mean this in a good way, not just the ball busting that goes on, but like you had this ability to break the complicated down into a manageable, simple approach that man, I still use it today, man. I could still hear Soley's voice ringing in my ears when I'm getting too complicated or I'm trying to overthink stuff or if I get confused or lost, and I just always appreciate that. You got a really strong way to handle this sport, and you've done really well with it. You know?
Right? Yeah, I try not to just make it simple, man. I've never been like get too hung up on baits and, what to throw, this, that, or the other thing. I'm more about, trying to find a fish and, the baits will figure themselves out,
Yep. And one of the things here's one that I remember, and it applies to you. We're talking about the flats, and you've won lots of tournaments down on the flats.
Right.
You're like, if I'm going to go try to make the grass working, and if I can't make the grass work, then I'm going to do something else. But I'm going to go first. I'm going to try to make the grass work. That still rings in my ears for 20 years, simplifying that approach, like, man, do I go flip wood, docks? Do I handle creeks, grass? It's like, man, the tournament's going to be won in the grass. You got to try to make that work.
Right, and that's because, like, on these tidal fisheries, especially the Chesapeake, the Potomac, milfoil in the spring, especially the months of May and June. I mean, if you're not fishing that, you're not fishing for the winning fish, in my opinion, and you try to get away from it, but, usually, it's always won because it's so important to the bass. And, to to bring that in perspective, 15 years ago, the flat itself wasn't that good, and a lot of tournaments be won, over in the Bohemia because the Bohemia had all the milfoil at that time.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, and then the fish dispersed, and then they got out on the flat. They used to be in the mouth of the sassafras because it was all milfoil. And those Tidal River fish, they need to spawn around the milfoil, and then they post and pre-spawn in it, you know what I mean?
Right.
So they never really leave it, until later summer, early spring. They got to, until they flatten out, I call it, until that water temperature gets like in the mid-50s or whatever it is, mid to upper 50s, and they start to flatten out. But, the milfoil to Tidal River fish is everything.
Milfoil is king. I always feel that way. Like, if they have a choice of grass, eel or hydrilla or milfoil,
Right.
that's definitely going to be the king. But it's funny, you bring up all those places that we used to catch them,
Right.
On the Chesapeake. And back then, I think Rich was, he was still on his tricycle back then.
Yeah, I'd say.
We've got a whole new crop of these super talented grass fishermen now coming right behind us.
Yeah, and that's awesome, man. I mean, it's you got to pass it along sooner or later. And these guys out there today, they're way more sophisticated than I ever was fishing.
Or in any other way in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's all the technology they got. You know what I mean? And this is a true story, man. When I qualified for the Classic and the All-American and the National Championship all in the same year, dude, I fished out of a Nitro 882 with a 150 on it, no electronics. It's an 18-foot, 2-inch boat, dude. I took it everywhere, and it was pretty simple because I had no electronics. I was just going to beat the banks, But
Right.
it's kind of what
That's
I do, or
that's so
fish in the
cool.
grass. But today, these guys, man, with the stuff they got out there, I don't know how they keep it all in line.
And there's a lot to chew on, but it reminds me of like Dean Rojas. We heard that story. Ish told me this, that he qualified for the Classic his first year out on Pro Tour, and he
Right.
did not have a front sonar unit.
Wow, man.
on his
yeah,
boat.
I mean, that's crazy.
Well, and it's funny you say that because all this new technology, you see guys like John Cox, of course Hackney, the guys that are bank beaters, they have less fishing pressure now.
Yes, yeah.
Because
that's-
all that
yeah.
new technology
right,
that's
yeah,
out
with-
there.
Yeah, front-facing sonar and everything else that the guys have today. A lot of guys get away from the bank. They all want to fish deep, and that'd be fine for a dude like me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm not too far from them guys. I could fish deep, but it's not my game really. I'd rather fish shallow if I can. I not grew up. I mean, I didn't really even start getting into bass fishing until I was like 24. But I fished lakes that were natural lakes, a pack on Greenwood with deeper milfoil. That grew out to 8 to 12, and that's how I kind of cut my teeth fishing for bass in the beginning. I fished my first tournament on a pack on, which is a grass lake, and then. You know the deal. If you can't fish tidal rivers around here or fish grass in the Northeast, you ain't going nowhere. That's the whole ball of wax, man. So
Grass is it, and there's grass lakes all over. Fishing them down South Gunnersville, and now Pickwick has grass all throughout it. So all these techniques that we're going to be talking about today apply to all these lakes all over. And we got this northern swing. We've got the elites coming up. They're going to be fishing on Lake Champlain, and grass is going to be a huge factor. They're going to be fishing down south of Ticonderoga, or fishing the grass up north, or even the smallmouth that can be in that 20-foot deep eelgrass. That's up there. So we're talking about grass, guys. If you have questions, you want to talk about grass, get your questions together. We're going to have we've got one of the greatest minds in grass fishing sitting here with me, and we look forward to talking to you guys about that stuff. Guys, if you have anything that sits outside, I don't care if it's an ATV, a jet ski, even if you're a bass fisherman that owns a jet ski.
Ooh.
That's a hard thing to be, but
Man.
Empire's got a cover for you too. And, whatever it is, check it out. Empire Covers, go to empirecovers.com/BashU21, and we're going to hook you up with 15% off of an Empire cover. So don't let your stuff sit out and rot. Take care of your gear, and it's going to have some great resale value. The used bass boat market right now is incredible, so you want to keep your boat tight. Go check out Empire Boat Covers. Riz, we got, as always, we got a lot of prizes and contests. What do we got going on tonight?
Yeah, so we have a grand prize going out the door tonight. That's going to be a pair of Hobie sunglasses and some Bash University official gear. And then we also have a Facebook like and share going out tonight. That's going to be some Rod Warrior rod sleeves, as you can see there on the table, and a few Bash U hats and some other goodies from our sponsors like Gills Gear. Also, during the show tonight, we're going to be giving out 2 Gills Gear gift cards for questions that we take off the message board. Guys, and if you're not signed up yet for Bash U TV, now's the perfect time to get involved, and you can be a part of tonight's show when we give out the Zoom link later on. Right now is the last day that you can save $30 on your annual membership to Bash U TV, and we're going to hook you up with a red, white, and BU hat. It's the one I'm wearing here tonight.
One of our most popular.
It's very slick.
People love that hat.
It's a great looking hat. Guys, get signed up for Bash U TV tonight. We got over 900 videos, and we're dropping 3 a week. This is the #1 resource for you to take your fishing to the next level. Check it out at www.bashu.tv and get joined up.
And I just want to add that these Hobie glasses are actually really dope. They're they're $85, so it is a decent prize for you guys, you subscribers watching, and they're pretty dope. Like Pete said, you strapped on a pair for the first time tonight.
I did.
What'd you say, Pete?
Well, the coverage is amazing, and that's one of the things that I always struggle with is
because you're Polish and you got a large head, right? Large, wide set eyes.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I got a very handsome face that's difficult to fit, and but getting the light in behind the lens inhibits you when you're trying to get depth penetration and see, and you often have to cover it up. But excellent fit on the Hobies, liked it right away.
Yep,
love that
for big heads like Pete and little puny ones like mine.
And everything in between.
Yep. No, seriously.
Yep.
Fit.
And also, I want to give a shout out, and I brought one to Cash and Fishing Rods, because I have a story.
Oh yeah, story.
I have a story. We were fishing a tournament down on the Chesapeake, which I do from time to time with Derek Parker, good friend of mine, and we were fishing bank-oriented stuff, and I got hung up. And I'm trying to unhang it, and during the process, I kicked 2 of my Cashins right off the deck of the boat, right into the river, and here I am. I've been in that situation a million times. You grab it up if you can. So here I'm reaching out, Bob. I got my hand almost to the rods, and I'm to the point where, if I go even an inch further, I'm in. Or I pull back and watch the rods just sink to the bottom.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it. Paul, I couldn't do it. Couldn't let the Cashins fall. So I did it. I went for it. I went in, grabbed both of them rods, had them, and now I'm in. I'm underwater. And, of course, during the process, I dragged 2 more Cashins in with me.
So now we got 4.
Now I got 4 Cashins. We're swimming around. I'm trying to collect them, treading water. And we captured all 4 Cashin rods, and we got them back in the boat. And no worse for the wear, except for I lost my sunglasses. So I'm super psyched. I'm super psyched that I got Hobies to replace them with, and what a deal, man!
I went head in for a Fritz side
On the Delaware.
on the Delaware
Did just this recently?
yesterday.
Wow.
Just to get it back, or
Yeah, it was hard to get that thing. I wasn't giving it up.
He was straight up snorkeling without a snorkel yesterday to get that bait back. It was incredible. There was boats leaving. We were in Darby Creek, and there's boats leaving Darby Creek, laughing as we're going by. I'm like, he's all right,
oh man,
I mean, it was right there. I could touch it with the rod tip, but clearly it was in rope.
yeah.
And a lot of other things. So it was right there. It was just out of arm's reach. So
I'd see that horrifies me.
I had to go in.
Like if you're down there, you're stuck on rope, and then the hook gets you.
That's what happened to me with a jerk bait, man. The hook, it got stuck on a rope and dug into my hand, and every time a wave would come, my head would go underwater until I just ripped it out.
Oh my God!
It was on Greenwood Lake, dude.
my
I'm telling
gosh.
you, it was terrible, man. I kind of reached down to grab it, and it just sunk right into my fingers, man.
Oh my god!
Every time a wave would come, it would just lift the boat up, and you know,
Deeper and deeper. Oh,
it was terrible, dude. Yeah.
that is my worst nightmare.
Yeah, man, it was terrible. Never again. You live and you learn, man. That was the last time I was just like, break it off, dude. You know?
Oh my gosh,
That's great.
I'm gonna have a nightmare tonight about that. I've gone swimming. I've gone swimming before for lures, but down in the Delaware with all that current and rope.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came out of it unscathed, my friend.
Yeah, I was confident that. Yeah, I mean, it was there. I had to make an attempt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I want to shout out to my buddy Rich Snyderite. You know,
Oh,
Rich.
yeah, I know
Rich
Rich,
just
man.
fished the
Yeah.
Federation TBF down on the flats as well, and he pushed a slider hook through his thumb.
Ooh, nice.
In practicing for that tournament. But
Wait, what? Recently?
just a couple days ago.
He's still throwing a slider head?
Dude, he's been around forever. I mean, this guy's been around longer than me and Pete. Easy, dude. Look at us.
Oh my god! And he's still throwing slider heads?
Still winning with slider
Yeah.
heads.
How about
Yeah,
it?
he's an old school dude,
Hey,
man.
I'll be honest. I throw them. They
Yeah.
have a pro slider, which
Yeah.
is a beefed up, slightly gauged wire.
Yeah.
And I'm telling, when I'm around moss or grass and I'm shaky head fishing, that's what I use.
It's better.
It's a good
Yep.
deal, man, in the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes through. It's got the line ties almost straight out,
Yeah,
almost like
yeah.
this jig.
Yeah.
It's just straight out.
Yeah.
It's actually exactly like that,
Yeah.
which makes it a great bait. But the problem was the old ones, the original ones, were ultra finesse.
Yeah, the wire was real light.
Oh,
on
it
him,
was so
yeah.
light,
Bend
and
them right out.
You could, if you weren't using the right gear, you would bend them right out.
Right.
Yeah.
But it
Caught a million fish on them, though.
Yeah.
no kidding.
Oh, that was the deal.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
It's just a
still
fall
is.
on it too. It's just got a different fall on it than a lot of other stuff's got that little glide to it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's old school technique for sure.
That's
man.
all. He's won as many amateur tournaments as anybody out there. But
Yeah.
we had another win. Riz, you brought another win in this weekend, or last weekend was it?
Yeah, it was last weekend. Had a second on the Delaware on Saturday, and then we got the win on the Canal on Sunday. So
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
yeah,
Solid.
it was a nice weekend to get away from the flats after I had sucked there the weekend before. So it was good to get some vengeance on a different body of water.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a change of pace, man.
Exactly,
You know
change
what I
of
mean?
scenery.
Yeah, breaks
Yeah.
you out of some slumps, some
Yeah.
routine.
Yep.
Things you don't want to be doing fishing.
I know. Well,
sure.
I've got to go fish Lake Oneida, and I got to figure out how to break out of that slump. That's coming up here in a couple weeks. I have.
Stovchenko.
No, that doesn't even work for me there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to come up with something else. But I don't know. It's like it's the Bermuda Triangle for me, Lake Oneida. Like my boat sank one time. I got deathly ill during the tournament. Like during competition, there's 2 times it's happened to me in 25 years. I had to lay down during competition
Wow.
because I just couldn't do anything.
What would you have? Stomach virus?
It's like a flu or something. It just was clobbering me, and I just couldn't stand up anymore. I had to lay down. So anyway, Oneida, you owe me, and I'm coming to get it.
Right.
And I was down on the flats, and I had a really cool deal because down the flats, in my tournament, we finished the Fishers and Men tournament, and I opted for a strategy outside of the grass, which we didn't 8 hours or 9 hours. That's a long tournament they have, but I never made a cast at grass the whole time
Wow.
on purpose. But here was the cool thing. This was super cool. I'm driving down. It was the Friday before the tournament, and I had a on-water training trip. The moon was so full, just staring at me as I'm driving down 95.
Slapping you in the face.
And I'm looking at that full moon, and I'm like, nah. Could they spawn? It's like the end of June. They're done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They couldn't be another spawn going on. And during my on-water training trip, we went out, and I'm telling you, we caught bedding fish. We had 3 over 5 with bloody tails.
Right.
And I think another wave had been pushed up by that full moon. And of course, I went out the next day. Of course, we had beat them up pretty hard on Friday. And but we still managed to, 18-pound respectable bag and took second place. Shout out to the Fishers of Men.
Nice.
Awesome. His second time fishing with those guys this year. Love fishing with those guys. They run a great tournament trail. Shout out to Derek Parker. But we had a blast. But it was what I was trying to accomplish was everybody was going to be grass fishing. And in order to win, I wanted to try to do something outside of that.
Yeah.
And almost pulled it off.
That's good, man.
Almost pulled it.
That's pretty strong for not fishing out on the flat.
Right? it was tricky, but,
Right.
you catch those spawning 5-pounders, it changes your strategy a little bit.
You got to find a better way to get your guide trips off the juice the day before a tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I talked to Rich about this too. It's hard to win on a body of water that you're guiding on. I think it's made me a better angler, honestly.
Really?
Because I have to make tournament decisions every minute of every day to
Right.
get the guys around the fish, get the boat around the fish. So that it makes me a better angler. But then come Derby Day on the flats, I have sore-mouthed everything within 5 miles of where I'm fishing, and it's tricky. It's tricky to win. But overall, it's made me a better angler, I think. And it was great. And I love fishing the tournaments. I'm fishing more. COVID killed me last year, so I think I've already got like 5 or 6 tournaments in the books.
Wow.
For me, that's a lot, by this
yeah.
time. Because this is the time I really start fishing is like June through December. And I've got a lot planned, but I've already got a few in the books. And BTC?
Yes.
You had a derby as well. You did well.
Yeah, almost well. I mean, it was all right, but we were one place out of the money, so I'm pretty disappointed. But fished up on Merrill Creek with Jeff Little from Torquedo. So it was cool. He's a kayak guy, and so it's a little bit – and he doesn't tournament fish. Jeff really doesn't enjoy tournament fishing or just not his thing. So it was kind of cool because he's used to just going out and fishing and filming and stuff. But it was fun. He got pumped. He got into it, and I'd be like, no, Jeff, they're biting. We'll film the recap on that fish catch after. Hold on, man.
Yeah, let's put bait back in the water.
But no, it was awesome. We had 4 for 12. And 15 pounds or 14 pounds won it.
Right.
And they paid 3 spots, and of course we had 4th.
It's awesome.
No, it was
tough
cool.
fishery.
It's a really tough fishery. Yeah, it's a really tough fishery. And I see Bob's got the drop shot over there talking about grass fishing. We're going to get into that in a minute. But yeah, that's what got our big one, which was lunker right until the guy caught one at the boat ramp with 5 minutes to go to beat me. Oh, all right, let's go to commercial.
Are we ready for commercial?
Yeah, let's hit
for real.
commercial.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna be back. Hey, guys, get your grass questions together. We've got show and tell here. You're gonna hear some things that are pretty unique and fly in the face of what you think about grass fishing. So hang in there. Get your questions together. We'll be right back with Bass U Live. Why do you love catching fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA.
Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out doing a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worming series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
We're different. Some would say obsessed. There's no place on earth we'd rather be than right here, right now. Performance-driven gear, so you can fish longer, harder, Gill's Performance Fishing.
2021 Red Crest champion Dustin Connell here, and if you watch live coverage, we just got done at Lake Eufaula. I caught my fish using the active target with Lowrance. What you didn't see is I run a Sea Clear power harness in my boat. One of the main advantages of running this harness is it does not drain my batteries down at all running my 4 units. And what that's going to allow me to do is I'm able to see my bait at 8 a.m. just as good late in the day. Y'all check them out at seaclearpower.com.
You take pride in your boat, so it deserves the best protection possible. Our durable woven fabric prevents ripping and provides UV protection, and our tape seams provide protection against the elements. The heavy-duty shock cord hem and strap and buckle system provide a tight and secure fit. Our top-of-the-line boat covers come with a ventilation system to keep your boat free from mold buildup. Empire Covers, protecting what you love.
Welcome back, Bass University Live. Like I said, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about grass fishing. There's a lot of big derbies that we're all going to be watching, and it's going to be all about the grass. And we got a lot of great prizes. Get your questions together. Get on the IM board. If we use your question off the IM board, we're going to hook you up with some cool prizes. If you have not subscribed to Bass University, it's a great time right now. I've seen so many people at all the tournaments, so many guys coming up and thanking us for putting together this program, and I really appreciate that. Guys are using it. They're using it to be more consistent, to catch more bigger fish, to be competitive in tournaments. And guys, hey, if you're not a tournament guy, you just love fishing, I want to announce a great series that is going to be released called Take It to the Bank, where we're going to go over bank fishing strategies and kicking off with who else? Ike has got a great tutorial series that is going to kick off this series for us using his top, middle, bottom strategy from the bank. So if you're a bank angler, look for that to be coming real soon. And we've got a lot of great stuff going as well. But we're going to be we're talking about grass fishing tonight. It's my favorite way to go. I know Brian Schmidt is another one that is like a super grass phenom. There's a few guys out there. Todd Faircloth, amazing and great. I just want to bring that to everybody's attention. We have some of the best grass fishing seminars from the greatest grass anglers on the planet on Bass U TV. Todd Faircloth stands out in my mind, as well as Greg Hackney. And he's, I don't know why I'm telling you guys this, because probably some of my competition is watching, but he gives a great seminar about how he flips grass for smallmouth, and he developed that off of his experiences on Lake Oneida. So I'm going to be checking that out. I advise you guys to do the same. But let's dive into some grass fishing talk. And one of the things that I think is important, because I was just talking with on-water training customer today, and shout out to Kevin, and we were talking about pre-spawn patterns and grass. And one of the most important, believe it or not, as you go up north, there's still pre-spawn patterns happening up there.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, but one of the, like, you've seen this on the lakes that you grew up fishing, like Greenwood and Apacon. Mm-hmm. One of the best pre-spawn patterns on the planet is finding that first green patches of grass growth.
Right.
It can be the deal pre-spawn sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, pre-spawn fishing, basically like fishing these natural type lakes that I'm, kind of grew up fishing or whatever. Basically 2 lures, a rattle trap, and a jerk bait, man, does the deal. But it's kind of weird that you mention that, because one of the things about a pack-on, and a pack-on's a natural lake. It's no different than a Cayuga or where, Oneida kind of. Yeah, same exact deal. And one of the interesting things that I learned is that the bass only winter as deep as the cover. Even on a lake like a pack-on that's 50 or 60 feet deep, most of them only winter in like 5 to 6 feet of water, and the remaining eelgrass that's left from, throughout the winter, most of the milfoil dies back, like you said. But once that milfoil grows up, those pre-spawn fatties get in there, man, and that's when the rattle trap and the jerk bait you just beat them up.
Yeah, it's the facts. It's like you got to find that early grass growth, and it's key. We see the same thing, Riz, down on the flats. those big grass patches, those first ones, the tallest ones, man, that's where the juice is in the pre-spawn.
Seems to be where the big ones like to be, like Bob said. And what amazes me about that is that every year it seems like there's a different it starts to happen in a little different area first, just because it happened directly between the islands per se. Last year doesn't mean that it's going to happen directly between the islands again the following year. It may be close, but every year things are just a little bit different. And one of the cool things about grass is that once you find the right grass, the fish tell you found the right grass. There's no mistaking it, because when you get around them, they bite for you, and that's a fun time to be fishing. It's pre-spawn grass fishing.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And the lipless bait is like you said, Bob, is key.
Yeah.
Just getting it into the grass, ripping it out of the grass.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a key early season bait. I'm still guilty of putting that down. Like once we get past the pre-spawn, and I'm trying like crazy to keep jerkbait fishing and lipless bait fishing past the pre-spawn. Because they're such valuable tools, and we get caught up not fishing them that time of year. But but I still get caught putting them down. But
yeah, it's a good post-spawn bait on the flats. I don't think you're going to catch the right fish on it, but you can catch a lot of fish on a rattle trap down there post-spawn. You know what I mean? Or when they're kind of starting to get off the beds. So it just covers the water so good that that type of flat water with some grass on it, like you said, ripping a rattle trap out or throwing a jerk bait. Not so much on the flats, the jerk bait, but it just covers the water just so thorough. It's the deal. That or a chatterbait.
Yeah, well, a chatterbait is you got to add that, because when we first started fishing, it didn't exist.
Right.
And it was all lipless, but that lipless and chatterbait are almost synonymous with each other right now.
Yeah.
Or this year, but that early grass growth is key. And Gray Buck, man, came on. You guys got to go check out the Gray Buck show that he did with us at Bass U. But he had one of the best strategies for finding the good habitat in the grass by going out at ice out.
Yeah.
Before the grass grows.
Right.
Finding all that good stuff, because one of the keys to being good at grass fishing is what's happening underneath the grass.
Right.
Is there rock? Is there sand? That's huge in grass bed fishing. And Greg gets out side imaged, so now I'm doing that too. I think that's a great strategy to be able to find the goods, because so many times in a grass bed, when you catch one, you can bet there's a reason why that fish is there, and it's most often the bottom habitat. I mean, we see that on like where you grow up, like Lake Apacon. It's a rock outcropping or something under the grass.
I get asked that question a lot because I won a lot of tournaments on Apacon. A lot of times it's definitely some irregular feature in the grass, a point, a little indention in it, or thicker. The grass just tends to be thicker in a spot. So, the bass definitely go through a progression when they get off the beds. You look at, say, Lake Apacon, like the first, second week of June, they're really not out there yet. But once you get to the third week of June, the first week of July, all the fish are kind of done spawning. They're all on the same page, and they're not out what I would say out on the outer edge yet. A lot of times they're still up on the flat part of the grass, and that 6 to 8 feet of water, and that's where that thicker grass plays a factor. Not so much maybe the bottom composition or a point on the outside edge, but as the summer progresses, the fish keep moving out. So you got to kind of move with them, or they go dirt shallow in between. It's either out or in.
Yeah.
So that middle depth kind of goes away after they get done spawning, and they move out 6 to 10 feet or whatever, and then eventually move out. But you're right, a lot of times it could be something on the bottom, rock or bare spot, sand spot, something different.
I think one of the tools that has disappeared is, and I love bringing it back, is the marker buoy.
Yes, yeah. I mean, back in the day, Mike, you go fish a tournament, you think they had like a ski buoy set up. Mike's fishing in the cove. He's got like 40 of them stretched out. It's like, dude, you know what I mean, man? But I used to just tie a crankbait on it, not so much the buoy, so other anglers didn't see it that way, because you throw a big yellow marker buoy out, it's like a beacon. Yo, over here, dude, it's a bad call, man,
Well, you got to use the other strategy I used to use is I'd throw the marker buoy like where there's no fish.
Right,
but
yeah.
Like it's the fish are here and you throw it like 30 feet over that way, and you fake guys out. You go over and fish around the buoy and they'd all suck into it and then you could go fish the juice,
It's interesting you say that because to me, grass fishing when you win, it's always a sweet spot, dude, right? You could have 40 boats around you, one dude's just waylaying on them, everybody else is getting scraps. You're just watching this guy clobber him, and trying to find those sweet spots is the whole thing with winning those type of tournaments, That's the deal.
It is.
Truth.
I've been there, and I've seen, you're so
Been on
close.
both sides of it. Been the one on the sweet spot, been the one off the sweet spot.
Sitting out there, sitting outside the window. It's
let me get in.
You're standing out in the rain, and they're inside. They're partying. You didn't get invited to the party.
It's so lonely.
Just getting rained on.
Yeah.
That's cold rain too.
But it's been, the buoys are key. Now, of course, we have like spot lock and we have great 360 features. I can see through the grass so much better with my mega down imaging and my 2D sonar that I can see stuff like it's incredible. And what do you got?
So Saturday, you just reminded me. Saturday we fished that tournament.
Yeah.
The big one that we caught, and I rolled up on this community grass flat. I went to another spot first. We left there about half hour into the day, and it's just it's a big community spot. It's community because it's the best spot on the lake, right? And there's like 8 boats parked on. I'm like, all right, let's chill out here for a minute, work my way in there, and try to head to some of the areas I like and see what's going on. Didn't see anybody getting bit and fished around and started getting off to the outer edge and off on the point, the deepest edge of it. And as we're drifting off, I'm like, it's no grass. And then from 20 to 24, as it's starting to drop, there was a little mustache of grass, and there's an arch. And 2 casts later, back in that direction is where I caught the big one. 4+ pound largemouth.
20+ foot, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah. For our bodies of water,
that's North Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got people go out there and plant it and harvest.
Well, one of the things that I did in my grass fishing, because I get this question all the time, like especially like out on the flats, like how in the world where do you start? Like what do where do you begin? But it's massive. But there's a couple things I use beginnings of grass beds and ends of grass beds, thicker parts, thinner parts. But a lot of times it's that depth change that's key on a massive body of water like that, and it can only be 6 inches or so. But one of the best tools, and whether any grass like I've been in, is I usually will find the fish by fishing.
Yeah.
I'll usually find them first by fishing, and marking a waypoint, and then dissecting the
Figuring
area
out why.
with why.
Yeah.
Is it a high spot? Is it a low spot? Is it a rock outcropping? What is it? And I'll spend a lot of time doing that, like just graphing. For us, one of the keys is high tide. You go out on the higher tide to do your graphing because your sonar reaches further, and you can see a lot better. The grass stands tall.
Yeah.
And but that's a huge. The fish are there for a reason. That's why we used to drop buoy markers.
Yeah.
It's never random. Like it's never random, and especially on the flats, it happens all too often that you'll be fishing through a stretch, and then your pin gets to the point where it can just barely touch your waypoint, and that cast you catch one.
Donk.
Because there's a reason that little spot holds a bass, whether it's something on the bottom, whether it's a change. It's just all too freaking often. And I get crazy with my waypoints, and I'll have people in the boat with me that are like, you really think you need all those waypoints and they got to be labeled and this and that and that? And I say, yeah, because every fish catch has a reason, and there's a story behind it. If you put the time in to figure it out, it's gonna pay off.
No doubt.
Yeah.
By the way, the waypoints on the Humminbirds are awesome. The updates have all the new color combinations. So I have last year's waypoints, this year's waypoints, green for grass, different colors. It's amazing. So at a glance, I can I can really dial in on what's out there on the flat. I've got,
One thing
out
about
there.
the grass, man, especially in tidal places, the Potomac, the flats, even natural lakes, man, is it never grows a lot of times the same way 2 years in a row, right? And so when we used to fish the flats years, I'm talking, 15, 20 years ago, it was about the thickness of the grass. It didn't matter depth change, right? The milfoil back then was so thick that that's what the bass related to, But now because the grass is thinner, they need those little depressions or whatever the case may be, man. And that's more what they relate to than, they spawn in the milfoil. And, like I said, we were talking about the other day, the shad spawn out there. And, so the bass kind of take advantage of that. But it has changed, and the grass continues. It always changes. 1 year it grows, the next year it doesn't.
It's exactly right. And it doesn't matter the lake. We see it on Gunnersville. We see it at every lake there is, even Okeechobee, that's all grass. Every year you go to a place, it grows differently. A lot of it's man-made impact. Maybe the areas get sprayed and die back, or weather patterns can blow wind and chop up the grass and kill it. Die off certain areas. Heavy rains can bring off-colored water and siltation in areas and wipe out grass beds for miles. So it's cool. It's interesting that every year, you got to relocate, and follow the fish as the grass changes.
Yeah.
I want to bend both your ears on something here. So do you feel like at a certain point late in the year, like in the mid fall or early fall, the grass will actually make a second growth, like it'll come back up? And I felt like I've started to see this on the flats the last couple of years, to where late in the fall, I'll get in these areas that I was catching them early in the spring, and the milfoil will start to get like those red tips again. It'll get all real fresh looking. And those areas seem to be where it comes up first in the spring. And what I wonder is, does that grass, because it made a second growth late in the year, does it not completely die off and it just lays down, and then early spring when it starts to lift up, those fish want to go straight to it?
Yep.
Yeah, what I've seen out on the flats is that you can go out there, and this is when the grass is more prevalent, thicker, whatever the case may be. You can go out there in February or March, and the grass was topped out.
Right.
Like it never even went away.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you would go in like VZ Cove and the grass would be there. Like, you would think it was like June looking kind of, and that one bay down there at the bottom of the Northeast River.
Yeah, I can't even think of the name. I know what you're talking
right.
about.
But the grass, a lot of times I'd go out there and I'm like, dude, it's like March and the grass is to the top already almost in this area.
It didn't die off.
Right.
Right.
And of course that's going to be a magnet for the fish, because I don't know if they could smell the milfoil or what it is, but they're going to it.
Yep. Well, I tell you, Rich, what I have noticed along those lines is the grass grows at different paces, and you know this from what we're seeing on the flats. Like the milfoil is going to be the first to pop up,
right?
In a lot of places, like we one of the areas we fish is milfoil, eelgrass, and hydrilla, and the milfoil is going to be the first to pop up in the early season, and then you start seeing the eelgrass or ribbon grass growth, and a lot of that grows, and that can outcompete the milfoil in places and wipe it out,
choke it out,
and then even later in the season, the warmest water grass, which a lot of people watching this fish around all the time, is hydrilla. And that is going to grow, it's starting to grow now.
Yeah.
And
it is.
Yeah. we're going to see, and it grows fast. And by the time we get into September, it's at its peak. And in October, it's at its peak. So grasses come at different times.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is go back and look at dates on pictures, from our bodies of water. And it makes me just realize how much every year is so different. Because something popped up on my Facebook memories today of 2019 where I had a big bag of fish, like 22 pounds. And it made me think how I was fishing and what the kind of what the water was like, the conditions that I had, how we were doing it. And I'm thinking to myself, I was on those waypoints on Saturday. It looks totally different. Like
Yep.
completely different. Just how much further along everything is this year as opposed to a year before or 2 years ago, 3 years ago even.
Yeah.
You know.
Every it's so different from year to year, and we get you get your heat waves, your fronts. We deal with a lot of runoff. Like if you get heavy rains throughout the region of our country, it can retard the grass growth for months. It can push the spawn backwards. It can do all kinds of stuff. And so every waterway is definitely different, and the grass is. But here's the deal, and we talked about it earlier. When the grass grows on your body of water, you can bet that's going to be where the winning patterns are. And we get this question a lot too, and guys get intimidated by fishing the grass because you got to fight it. You're fishing with treble hooks. What? You're going to throw this around the grass? Yeah, right? That's you learn how to manage it, and you learn how to throw your baits and trigger the strikes in grass. And we're going to talk about baits, and we're going to dive in because Bob, you brought a lot of great stuff here, and I look forward to talking to that. But Rich, do we have some IMs over there?
Yeah, we do. We got a lot of interaction from our guys on the board. I'm going to go ahead and start working some of these in here. First question is going to come from Steez72. Steez72 says, my local lake just got sprayed to knock down the milfoil and other vegetation. Where do the largemouth and smallmouth bass go after the grass gets killed?
That's a
and
good
Steez,
question.
for that question, you got yourself a Gills Gear gift card, my man.
Some of them might go to heaven.
Well, I'll tack that first, and then I'll pass it on, Bob. But I've talked with DNR officials, and if it's sprayed properly, with stuff that doesn't kill fish, they've gone out and done fish shocking studies after the grass has been sprayed, and check this out, they find that the bass are all still there. They're all right where we left them. They're all healthy, and they're all right there. But here's the problem as an angler. I can't catch them.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on when that happens, but it's almost like the fish become affected in some way, that their habitat is dying off. They get freaked out and get stressed out. Likely, but I can't catch them. Now, if I'm a tournament guy and I found fish there and I go there the next day and it's been sprayed, of course I'm bummed out because I think it's going to change. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try to make those patterns work, but I'm going to efficiently move, recognizing that I'm going to see a change. So what I do in that situation, Steez, is, I'm just going to go to the areas that aren't sprayed. And that's just because it's stable.
Yep.
The patterns there, you're going to be able to trigger strikes better. And you just got to say goodbye to that area at that moment and come back to it at a different time. But DNR tells me the fish are not killed, but I can't catch them out of sprayed areas.
Yeah. So just to relate a little story, buddy of mine, Keith Thomas, up there on Nakamixon. He's lived there his whole life, and they spray Nakamixon, right? Mm-hmm. So they just sprayed it right after the bass spawn and killed all the grass. And Keith grabbed, he was pretty irate about it. We don't like it. We don't like the way it's affecting it. They keep saying, like you're saying, they're not. I don't know how it couldn't affect them. So he grabbed the DNR officer there on the lake and took him for a ride. Said, "This is the biggest spawning cove in the lake. Where's all the fry?" And they just covered the banks. He took them out there for hours covering the banks. No fry. He says, so how are you allowing these guys to spray right after during the spawn? Furthermore, downstream from this, cows drink from the water, dairy cows, blah, 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 blah. He called Harrisburg. He threw a fit, and they put a stop to it pending investigations.
Right.
I think it's pretty dope that he
took
had
action.
Effect.
Yeah.
He took action, and seriously, man, it seems kind of, I don't know. I can't pull asbestos tiles off a roof without triple bagging it and paying all kinds of extra money.
We had to wear
the
masks
state.
everywhere for the last 2 years.
Yeah, we had to wear masks. And here they're just going to go spraying chemicals. The
right.
same active ingredients are in Roundup, and let's go spray the lake.
Well, Yeah, I'm with you. I've been on both sides, but the DNR's it's come on our show, and they've said
you've only been on our side, Pete.
They've said straight up that unless they're spraying illegal chemicals or they're doing something illegal, the stuff that they're using to kill grass has to be approved by the DNR for them to apply it. They got to get permits.
One thing that I can tell you is that they were not in control of when the lake was being sprayed.
Yeah.
So whoever's spraying the lake, it's subbed out. State subs out the money. They got money to spray the lake. They got to spend it. The guys that were spraying it were not. They did not care that the bass had just spawned.
Of course, yeah.
So they're not following that. That. I think that's important. They should be paying attention to what's going on in the body of water.
Well, the two organizations, everybody needs to be talking to each other.
True.
And that's probably not happening.
Because if the fry are there, now they've got nothing to protect them.
Right. So they're sitting ducks.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But go to the healthy grass. Shout
out to Keith Thomas.
Yeah.
Right. Back to you.
Advocate for the spawn over at Knock-Mixon.
Yep.
Thank you, buddy. Here's a couple things. Now, what I do is when it has been sprayed, there's going to come a time when the effects on the bass are done. Like the day they spray or 2-3 days later seems the biggest. But then everything starts to dissipate, and the fish can move back into those areas. And all the even when they spray, there's grass that survives.
Yeah.
So the green stuff is going to pull them in, and a lot of times that can be a big draw. I don't know if you remember Gary Klein, because you're a big fan of the sport too, but on Lake Seminole, this was a key deal. He won Lake Seminole targeting the dead hyacinths.
Yeah, that's a great draw though, because it draws heat, and
Yeah.
that time of the year was pre-spawn when he won.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Stacked
So
heat.
that's definitely it's a little bit different than spraying them. I think. I don't think they sprayed those hyacinths. I think they were just dead from the winter. You know what I mean?
Maybe so. I don't. I thought it was spray. I can't remember.
Right.
But
yeah.
there was green ones and there was dead ones, and he focused on the dead ones and won the tournament. So that's the other thing is when that grass dies, it creates mats. It can create habitat.
Yeah, and the thing I heard about it is that when the grass, because I dealt with a pack on, fishing up there, and it's homeowners dumping chemicals into the lake, and what happens is the grass, when it dies, it depletes the oxygen. Right,
Yep.
The grass is giving off oxygen. Once it's starting to die, it starts to deplete the oxygen.
Bait
so,
fish leave. They forced out.
I've heard guys say that they've caught them out of it, and I fished the pack on a bazillion times, and I just either go for shallow or try to find grass that's not being affected. And the grass beds that'll be left alone are the smaller or shoreline rim grass, or like I said, smaller pockets of grass. They're usually going to spray the big, gigantic flat beds of grass, and they leave the smaller ones alone. But once the chemical's in the water, I don't know if it goes through the whole system or not, but that's generally what I do. Fish shallow or try to find the grass beds that are very isolated that they're not going to bother spraying.
I like that. Boy, that's pretty neat. The big ones are going to get all the attention, so move to those smaller grass beds. That's pretty cool. That's good. That's a great concept, and spraying of grass, man, it's killed. Oh my gosh, I can't believe. One time in Louisiana, I come out and they're spraying, actively spraying the where I have my school of fish located.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
and they're absolutely gone. But great question, Steez. Riz, I'll throw it back to you. Who else is on the IM board?
All right. The next question is going to come from Slater, and he wants to know Slater. He wants to know, when fishing a lake with multiple forms of vegetation like reeds, pads, or hydrilla, what makes you focus on one type of cover in an area and why?
The bass are there.
Do you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it depends on the time of the year. I mean, like I said, the progression, usually hydrilla grows up a little bit later on. I don't know if he's from down south or where he's located, but, usually in the early season, I'm going to fish shallow or the pads and the reeds, and as the summer progresses, I'll be out in the hydrilla more, But there's a time when fish in grass do go shallow. You hit that July, August time frame. Like I said, they're going to be dirt or deep, and so – depending on the time of the year, I would fish the reeds and the pads early, and then as the summer progressed, I would fish more into the hydrilla.
Yeah, it's a good strategy.
Dirt or deep? dirt or deep. So you're either going shallow or way deep.
Right. So bass, it's a good question, man, because from my experience when you fish these places, the month of June and about halfway into July, the fish, I'm not saying you can't catch them shallow, but the winning bags seem to be in the grass. But as the summer progresses, the fish will move shallow, or they'll get on hard cover even sometimes. You'll still have enough winning fish in the grass, but the bass tend to scatter more. And I always thought that as the summer progressed, because if you ever go up to a lake, a natural lake, the amount of algae that grows on the docks and the rocks and everything else, and tons of bait fish just move in there, and later in the summer, you know, that gets that shallow bite going. And I know fishing these natural lakes that I fish, you know, end of July, August, you know, you start seeing those shallow guys starting to beat up on them grass guys a little bit, man, you know, and that's kind of how it goes down. So that's my perspective.
Yeah, that's interesting because I see it even on the, like the lakes like Kentucky Lake, the Tennessee River chain. Like they're not all grass lakes, but they tend to be deepest in the post spawn, like a Douglas Lake, which has no grass.
Yeah.
And then as they get later into the summer, they scatter.
Yeah.
Like they're
absolutely.
in all depth zones.
Right.
So it's not just grass lakes that does it, but it's even lakes without grass. And as you get later into the summer, the shallow bite can be productive. And it's a great question, Slater. And here's my answer. I hydrilla, reeds, pads. I concentrate on when they're biting in the reeds better, I fish reeds. When they're biting in the pads better, I fish pads.
That's about as simple as it gets.
It's a silly answer, right? But
it's efficient.
No, I mean, here's the deal. Your question reminds me of Florida lakes.
Yeah.
Right? Because you get in a Florida lake and you've got arrowheads. Then you got the, reeds. Then you've got Kissimmee grass.
Yeah.
Then you've got eelgrass. Then you've got hydrilla. And and it all looks amazing.
Yeah.
How do you decide where to fish and what's going on? But the one thing that I've discovered in lakes like that is the biomass seems to all move together. Like you get into an area where that's where they're at. The bait's there, the fish are there, and then you have to discern based on the seasonal patterns, what are they going to do. But, pad fields, they can be good for a multitude of times a year. We just saw Brian New win fishing lily pad roots. Down in Florida, and because they will spawn on the lily pad root system. Reeds and arrowheads are often indicative of a harder bottom that will also hold the spawn. So that's going to be a great time to concentrate on those types of things. And then, just like you said, as the fish move out, in the post spawn, the hydrilla can be, a huge factor. And, of course, in the cold water seasons, those hydrilla mats, those rolling mats are a great deal. But it's complicated when you're fishing in places that have such an abundance of grass on where to get started and how to approach it. But what I do is I do move a lot. I move a lot in those areas because I know when I'm on those bodies of water, because I know if I'm not catching them, I'm not around the biomass. I'm not around them. So I got to move efficiently until I find an area that's got the bait. It's going to have the bass. And it's funny here on the Chesapeake lately. Keep going back to that, but the goldfish. You see all the goldfish that we have out there. I don't know if you've been out there lately, but we've got goldfish everywhere, and they're like koi that were released. You can see them from a mile away, and every time you see those koi, they're around the bass. They're around the bait. They're around everything.
Yep.
So you don't even need to really know much out there right now, other than go and look for the goldfish.
Marker buoys.
They are.
Marker buoys, man.
Great question, Slater.
Back to Slater. Hey, so I got one from Anthony Geis off YouTube. He says, does anyone smell the grass?
Interesting.
I mean, it depends how well you know your guy.
What kind of grass we talking?
I mean, where's he?
Is that a real question?
He's from California, but
that's funny.
He says he likes a strong musk on his sandgrass and a sweet hint to his milfoil.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, see, I know that we have that sand grass that grows on the natural lakes, that deep grass, and it has that real pungent it stinks. You know, it's an unpleasant scent, and never really thought about you know, using the aroma as a fish finding tool or mechanism. But I imagine there's scents that draw the bait and push it away. I mean, you've got a power bait on right there.
Yeah.
Right. There's definitely something to it.
Yeah. How about the grass that Jake was covered in at the swamp party we had the other day? Rich, you got that pic?
I do have that pic.
Yeah.
We need to show that pic.
Yeah, that's South Jersey grass.
If you can pull that up, Rich, I don't know if you can, but we have something called Black Death. That's what we call it, and it is a moss. But it's alive. It wipes out a lot of stuff, but it's this. You probably fished if you ever got that black gunk on your hooks and you got to pick it off. You know, we get it in gobs and, you know, just acres of it around here.
Yeah.
But it's full of these little microorganisms. It's full of life, little crabs. You look in there, and, you know, it's got a lot of life to it. But it also starves oxygen. It kills grass, and it outcompetes a lot of different things. But
it's terrible.
Yeah.
You literally can't even throw a weightless Senko sometimes without coming back with that slime on your hook.
Well,
it's got to be the yin and yang of the universe. You know, our food is fantastic here.
Yeah.
And the fishing's terrible. And so's that
well,
vegetation.
let me tell you something. I've been on patterns that around here that black moss in the early seasons is everything. Because especially in the springtime, like it'll draw heat, it'll warm up faster, and it'll bring the earliest pre-spawn fish. So, but it's like you said, BTC, it's impossible to fish around. You can't let anything touch it, and it just fouls your lure up, and nothing you can do about it. But great questions. We got a lot of cool stuff sitting out here, Bob. Let's dive in, man. We got some baits, and we got some pretty cool strategies, and I want to talk about it because I do some things in the grass that are a little bit different, but you do too, man. Let's how do you want to take us through this? Like maybe, you know, power through finesse or seasonal? How do you want to talk about the bait you got here?
Yeah, I mean, there's times when it all kind of can play, or there's times where, you know, depending on where you go in the country, believe it or not, you know, some things are better than others. And it's kind of weird to say that, but you know, New York bass are different than Jersey bass in the grass, you know, from my perspective, man. And you could use a lot of different lures to catch them up there, but more leaning towards power fishing, you know, where Jersey bass are, you know, they're, to me, you know, old school, you'd go out there with a jig and that was it, you know, but nowadays, you know, the fish, I guess a lot of pressure in the grass, and you got to use more finesse-y type techniques to catch them, you know what I mean?
Yep. As I just interrupt you for a second, I see Jake up there on the screen. This is the Black Death that we were talking about.
That's disgusting, man.
He is
disgusting.
That is what we deal with, people.
Yeah.
Okay.
We see acres of this. It's, you know, he's standing in 2-3 feet of water, and this is just like a floating death mat. But like I said, there's so many things living in it. Shout out to Jake. That's Jake Gluzak. I mean, how bold is he, man? He doesn't care, man. He's an outdoorsman. He just dives in the nastiest stuff he can find.
I like it. I like that a lot about him. That's awesome.
I love it.
We got somebody on the Zoom line here, Pete. If we want to bring in a subscriber.
Yeah, let me see if we can get them chucked up. You guys keep rocking, and we'll work on that.
All right, we're talking power finesse, Bob.
Power finesse, man. So we'll talk about the Zara Spook first, and this is definitely a bait. Like if you get over milfoil grass, you know, typically in those natural lakes, that milfoil grass will grow out to like 12 feet, you know, and this is an awesome bait to call up those fish in that 7, 8, 9, 10 feet of water. You know, big, gigantic, massive milfoil flats. And the other thing I like about the Zara Spook is it'll get you some big bites, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But here's one of the interesting things is that you know, a lot of guys just throw this in the morning, you know, low light conditions, whatever. But I've had my biggest bites on a Zara Spook on bluebird days over the grass.
Wow.
It's just something about it. I mean, it definitely calls up those fish. You get bigger bites. You catch smallmouths on it. It's a good bait for even like locating fish, and you can cover tons of water with it. Where like you don't want to go out on a big grass flat that's throwing a pop bar because you're not going nowhere. You just don't cover enough water. You know,
Right,
with a
right.
spook you can work it and cover it, you know, pretty fast, man. So it's definitely for me something. If I'm going to a grass lake, natural lake, I'm gonna definitely have a spook tied on, no doubt about it.
That's interesting, and it is a common myth. It's like morning and evening.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that can happen. Now, why do you think that is on that tall grass? Do you think later in the day those fish come up in the canopy to feed with that bright sun?
That's a good question. I don't, you know, well, it's kind of funny too that you mention that, because to me, bass in the grass are spurt feeders, right? So, you know, you always get a spurt in the grass till about 9 o'clock. Then you get these like lulls, you know, and then, you know, around 11, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they start biting again, you know? And so I think that, you know, you have to, you know, you play that to your advantage a lot of times. And a lot of times, to be honest with you, my tournament strategy for fishing grass, a lot of times after 9:30, I usually leave it for a while, and then I'll come back.
That's pretty cool.
Right.
Now, how does a tide change your theory there?
Well, I'm talking more on natural lakes. When you're
Gotcha,
talking
okay.
about the tide, it's definitely more,
Right.
you know, more influenced by, you know, being there at the same, at a, you know, a certain
Right.
tide change or whatever the case may be. But again, with the tide change itself too, is that, you know, a lot of times once that tide turns and comes in for a little bit, it shuts the fishing down. He flushes all this new fresh mud in. The fish don't bite for a little bit, and then once you start getting into the tide a little bit farther, the fish will bite again. But in the meantime, you can be doing something different.
Yep.
You know, instead of wasting your time in the grass that's really not doing anything. So, you know, it's, you know, for me, I always do, you know, my formula is I fish out in the grass to start, and then I get up on the bank and see how it goes. And if that's not happening, I'll go back out to my grass
Amazing.
stuff.
Well, you know, that's the Cayuga tournament that we fished together. That's how I won the
Right.
tournament.
Right.
It was capitalized because that was exactly like you're talking
Can we
about.
talk about this off air?
Hush.
Yeah.
But the grass bite was powerful for the first 2 or 3 hours,
Right.
maybe, and then it just dissipated and it never came back.
Right.
Like it never came back in the
That
afternoon.
happens a lot in the grass.
You know,
yeah.
and you know, so I had to do some different things to do well in the tournament.
Ed Cowan told you both just stop. Just don't,
Yeah.
don't tell them.
Yeah. Eddie, dude, he's a good dude.
Yep. Another super talented grass fisherman.
Oh, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt.
But so we're talking about, we talked about topwater. What's your next move?
I mean, you know, again, depending on where I'm fishing, what I'm going to throw, you know, the state that I'm in, you know, as far as like if I'm in New York or New Jersey or fishing tidal water or whatever the case may be, you know, a lot of times I'm gonna vertical fish bass, you know, and so one of the key things to finding sweet spots in the grass, man, is that in the morning when you have that window, that 3-hour window, right? Even though it's a natural lake, man, it's almost like a tidal fishery because once that 9:30, a lot of times it starts to die off. But so when I'm trying to find those sweet spots, I'm trying to cover as much water as possible, right? And if I catch a fish, I just waypoint it and then just keep moving. But I'll look like, say it gets later in the day, I might get up on a big grass flat and just look for irregular features and waypoint them all. And the next morning when I know the bass are chomping, you know, in the grass, I'll hit them all and try to determine which ones would be good, if any of them are good. And I've had situations where I caught a bass, 40 of them came up with it to the boat, right? You're like, yeah, this is it. This is a spot. Tournament day, and then later in the day, I got a spot where I caught 1 12-incher, and I waypointed like, yeah, whatever. And tournament day, I go to a spot where the 40 came up and can't get a bite, and where the 12-incher came up,
there
they are. Mm-hmm. And they end up winning the tournament. And that's kind of like, it's so.
But
like
that time of day is so critical.
Yeah, it's super critical, man. I mean, when you're out there practicing grass places, you want to get out there as early as you possibly can, man, and you want to cover as much water as you can, but you want to hit, you know, the key features like we talked about, you know, some irregularity or thicker, or, you know, whatever it is, and you know, then once you locate the fish in the morning, they're usually eating. You can throw, whatever, flip a jig or whatever. But then once, sometimes if you're going to stay out in the grass, a lot of times you got to switch techniques, go to something more finesse, or you can try cranking them, spinner baiting them, whatever you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I see some of those things here. Some of these things, which I think are pretty cool, and guys wouldn't think about drop shotting in the grass. We're going to get into that. Are we ready? We've got a Zoom caller on. We're going to.
Yeah, when you're ready, Pete, we do have a Zoom caller.
Yeah,
sitting here.
Let's go ahead and
hanging out.
We'll come back to some finesse techniques in the grass, and I want to talk to some of our guys. Caller, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hey guys, it's Mac Attack from Northeast Maryland, right over the bridge from y'all. So,
Use guys.
Welcome.
I got a question. So what is the largest swim bait or plastic that you have thrown in grass at any particular time of year? It doesn't matter which lake. Just, something that's not biting on something smaller. You may be getting bumps, you may be getting some nibbles, but you want to get something a little bit larger. And if it's too large, of course, cutting it down or biting the head off of it, putting it back on the hook a little bit smaller so the hook's a little bit closer to the end. What's the largest one you've had on there?
Well, I'll tackle that. Like, it's weird. One of the places that you're from, a lot of times it's odd that the finesse baits often, or smaller baits, sometimes can get the winning fish.
What'd you catch your biggest one on, Pete?
My biggest bass on the flats came on a Flick Shake 4-inch stick bait, 6-pound test in the month of April.
Jeez.
Crazy. And I don't know how big it was. I've caught 8-pounders on the scale. It was clearly bigger than that. It might have been 9, might have been 10. I'm going to say it was 11. So it makes me feel good. But
it was definitely an 11.
Definitely
How
11.
tall was the grass, Pete?
Say that again?
How tall was the grass?
Well, actually, it was April, and the grass had not established. So I was actually fishing rock. I was fishing in some pre-spawn, rocky, hard areas. Bluebird day, hardly caught any fish. And man, that's always when the biggest one bites. But back to the big baits, there's, some of the, I'm not, like, I've been out with Oliver Nye. Awesome watching him throw those baits, and I have them. Yeah. I'm looking forward to doing more experimentation with the glides and all that stuff. But I've gone up to 6-inch. It's really not that big in a lot of parts of the country, but the Big Easy is one that I've thrown. The 360, they're closer to 6-inch swim baits. I've done underspins on them. I've been pretty successful using swim baits out in the grass using those techniques. But one of the other ones that isn't a swim bait that is big, and I use it a lot of times in the post-spawn, is I use a mop jig, a big full-size jig with a big trailer. And there are times and situations where, like, you'll catch all the big fish that swim nearby. But those are my big tools. That's really as far as I've taken it, in my grass fishing. But I do own glide baits. I do. It's something that I'm continuing to learn. Do you use big baits, Bob? Have you gone down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, I mean, I throw big baits, every kind of time I go fishing, just to see if they'll eat something bigger. You know what I mean? To make big baits, big bass. You know what I mean? But it seems like with the pressure that the flats gets, man, it's those bigger baits don't get near the bites that the more finessey stuff gets. But I mean, you can catch them on big swim baits down there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
my daughter and I were fishing we fished Upper Chesapeake Bassmaster Tournament. It's a little club, maybe about 15, 20 boats. But we were there 3 weekends ago, and these guys were cherry picking. They were going around. It wasn't illegal for the tournament. They were going around to anchor, and they were fishing the stressed out fish. And I'm one of those. I want to teach my daughter integrity. I want to teach her the right way. Find the fish, earn the fish, look at the graph, use the right tools. So we fished all day. It was probably close to about an hour hour before we were supposed to come in for weigh-in at 3, and we ramped out at Perryville, and I'm like, let's head back to the flats. It's a little bit later in the day. The tide's a little different. Let's check out the grass. So we ran down Perry Point, and you know, it was pretty decent, and there was hardly anybody in that section. They were all out into the flats. So Perry Point, if you know that bank all the way down right near the Hayden Bridge, giving some juice out there. Speaking of juice, so I tied on a couple different things. So this is it's a Wild Fang series, V&M, the Ultimate Bass and Bait. It's a 9.5 inch. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that all right? 9.5 inch lizard bait, really large. And I threw, of course, you know, tailed it up with little spike it chartreuse.
Hold that giant lizard back up there.
Yeah. Right there.
That reptile.
Yeah.
Here's what it looks like.
Yeah. The bait. Yeah, get that bait back up there.
Yeah, by Bayou Outdoors, made in USA, 9.5 inch. Nice spiral tail on this thing. This thing,
garlic.
And it's green pumpkin. Nothing special on it. Wild Lizzie, that's what they're calling it. The Wild Lizzie, 9.5.
Remember her?
And threw the tail in some dippets, and of course, you know, the old Liquid Mayhem. So, and this is the rig I had set up on.
So what happened next?
So we're out there, and you know, I'm just going down the point, hitting the grass, and all of a sudden, you know, I see a couple boats that are flying by, coming back towards the ramp, and I'm like, we got about a half hour left. We had nothing in the live well, and so I picked this guy up, and I just casted him out towards the deeper part, and just kind of popped him in, boom, hit. I was like, what? Bring in about a 2.5 pounder. I was like, all right, that's a start. Cast out again, nothing. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try a little closer because we're about 20 yards off the bank. So I cast it into there. Boom, another hit, popped it in. And our fault was this. We got 2 fish in the live well, and I did not stay there. That was my fault. We kept moving with the trolling motor, trying to go up and down the bank, and we didn't get anything else for that rest of that half hour. But so my thought is, and my question maybe,
how big are the fish?
One was 2.5 and one was 3 point something.
Okay.
Real.
It was almost about 5, maybe 6 pounds worth of fish. So, and these guys, you know, they went around to anchor and they cherry picked, and you know, that's just my own personal opinion. You know, it was legal. It wasn't illegal. It wasn't stated in our off, you know, areas where we couldn't fish. But I just wanted my daughter to learn to earn, you know, and keep that integrity. But so long story short, got these fish back, slept well that night, and I guess
There you go.
you know, my question is, you know, would you have stayed there in that section after you caught 2 within 3 casts?
Yes.
Or would you have kept moving?
Power pole down, raptor down.
Yeah.
Spot lock. You know,
bucket of concrete over the side.
Yeah, you want anytime you we talked about it earlier in the grass, man. You just want to get them, you know, anchored down. You want to give it a chance. You want to fan cast. You want to cycle through a variety of baits. You're using a colossal Tyrannosaurus X lizard bait, which is great. It's huge, but you want to, you know, give them a different look, give them, you know, a different, a smaller top water, you know, vibrating. Just those fish are there for a reason. So you definitely want to cycle through, and fan cast through the area. But here's one of the keys, and all you guys that fish the tides, here one of my key strategies, and it's been successful a lot, is those bigger baits seem to thrive on the high water. And that, to me, I guess, because there's so much water, there's so much volume there, that the smaller baits disappear.
Yep.
They can't find them as well. And
that's usually when I throw a jig when it's on, you know, high water a lot of times, just because they can find it.
They can find it. Yep. So big baits, high water, and then adjust as the water gets lower. But man, you look awesome in the Bass U hat, and I love the the Zoom background there, man.
Yeah, thank you. That's it was you guys. I won a trivia question a couple weekends ago or weeks ago with you guys, and I totally forgot about the package coming in the mail. And a pay it forward thing. Brian knows about it because he clapped on did a little reply on me. But real quick, had about an hour to kill. I went down to Northeast Park, and I was just going to walk the docks, and I saw father and son, and the guy's fishing, and he's looked kind of rough, and that he wasn't catching anything. So I came up, started talking to him, introduced myself, found out that I was doing tournaments, and he was like, "What can I do right? This is the first rod and reel I've ever had. My son's 6 years old. What can I do?" Showed him a couple different things. Showed him a knot or two. Showed him, just spinner bait, something small for the kids.
Did you tell him about Pete's knot?
Yeah, right.
Okay. He's got to know.
And got just something for the kids to get, bluegill, crappie, or whatever. And the kid caught a catfish, which was kind of cool while we were there. And so he was all excited, 6-year-old boy. And so shout out to Brian, because I know that he really thanked me. And I was like, man, this is the way to go, man. I might come down here at least once or twice a week and just walk the docks and talk to people. And I came home that day, and guess what was in the mail? The prize pack from Bass U.
Funny.
And I was like, dude, I got to do a video. So I did a video and threw it on the Mac Attack fan book page and page. So
awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, it was definitely pay it forward. I really appreciate you guys and everything you guys do. And I just, I want to spread that love, that education that you guys have and that you guys do on the videos. And I can't thank you guys enough for education that I get.
We want to thank you for being part of the programming and keep paying it forward. And it's great that you're influencing other people to do it. And I appreciate you calling in. And I'm really impressed that our shipping department actually got something out in the mail. So that was awesome. Hey, and hopefully we'll see you down the flats, man. And I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us on the show.
I appreciate it too. I got one other thing. How's JK doing?
Oh, JK, professional fish head. He got ill post classic, and he's doing great. He had some type of virus. It seems it wasn't COVID, and it kicked him in the teeth a little bit. But he's a tough guy, and he's on the road to recovery, and he's back to work. He's back to fishing, and
awesome.
Looking for great things from him. But thanks for checking in on him.
Yeah. Send love, send prayers.
Definitely,
big time.
Definitely
all right,
will.
fellas.
Thank you, man. We'll catch up with
Sean.
you out on the water.
We'll see you at the flats.
Yeah, see you at the flats.
See
Or the
you.
Naughty Goose.
Orange crushes, baby. Get some orange crushes.
I'll see you at the bar there, Sean.
Yeah.
I'll see you there.
That's why he's going to hang out there twice a week. I get it.
Yeah, line them up, boss. Line them up.
Shoot. But we're talking about power fishing, and we're talking about grass. And one of the cool things that you're doing in the grass, and it's pretty wild that guys would never think to do this, but you're throwing some pretty interesting finesse techniques in the grass. You have a drop shot with like a 6-foot leader on it. It looks like
so the interesting thing about a drop shot in the grass, usually I have a cylinder weight on this, and you can shorten this leader up if you want it a little bit, but this gets the Senko to the bottom fast, but then it has its natural fall the rest of the way. You know what I mean? So this is, a technique I'll use when, it's been beat on and the fishing's getting more, a little bit tougher. But, you can just drop it in the grass. It's a little frustrating sometimes. I just use this 1/0 octopus hook. I don't use any kind of, wire guard on it or anything like that. But, I just drop this in the holes. It sinks down. A lot of times you pick it up and they're already on it. But if this gets a Senko, and the other option to that is, the flick shake, or sometimes I'll just throw the Senko with no weight at all, just completely weightless. If there's no wind, in the grass, can be kind of a fickle time. But I can tell you, these are not my go-to baits right off the bat. I'm going to try power fishing first, and then when it doesn't work, or if there's a lot of pressure on the lake, or whatever the case, a lot of tournaments, then I'll go more finesse stuff. And I have a couple other finesse baits. This is like
This is really cool because I don't know anybody that's doing this.
Yeah, so this bait here, and if Eddie Cowan's watching, I'm sure he knows about this deal. But this, throwing a fluke style bait in the grass with an 1/8 ounce, and this is a lot of guys will be like, what? Is that this is lead? 1/8 ounce lead weight on a fluke, and it's all in the fall. It has a real good glide to it, and this will get bites more than even a Texas rig Senko sometimes, And
no.
Yeah. So somebody will ask, why do you use lead? And the reason why, when you get into these heavily pressured natural lakes like we fish around here, the speed of the fall can mean the difference between getting bites and getting nothing. I seen, 15-pound tests not get a bite, and somebody throw 17 and get a ton of bites with mono. And so the lead has more drag to it, it's bigger, and it definitely falls a little bit slower. So it's kind of an old school technique, but I always just throw it on lead. And you want, a lot of times in the grass, the fish will bite it on the fall, and a lot of times you can't get it to fall slow enough, you know what I mean? And, there's different ways the bass bite. Sometimes they bite on the fall. Sometimes you got to doodle it on the bottom. Sometimes, you got a long cast and pull it over every grass clump. But, and this is similar. This technique here, this is, this is old school 7-inch black power worm with a 3/16 lead weight.
Hey, before you get off the fluke, 3 of our 4 bites at Merrill on Saturday came on that there technique.
Is that right?
Well, came on that bait. 2 of them exactly like Bob's talking, like a 15th ounce on a little jerk shads.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had one on a screw head after he caught his second bite on it. And we saw a couple bust. The only ones I saw all day. It did absolutely nothing. Straight.
Wow.
But it was, it was the color of the bait, the shape. But two of our 4 bites came on what Bob's talking about.
It's an interesting thing that you mentioned color, because I think in the grass, color means more than when you're fishing isolated targets, man. I mean, I've seen color mean everything, And so
you think it means more in the grass?
More in the grass, man.
Wow.
By
Such
far.
an idiot.
Come on, let's go.
This color black, you look at it and say, if I'm going to tie on a bait, it's generally going to be black, even in gin clear water. It's an awesome, awesome color. So one time, and I've learned all these things through tournament fishing, right? So me and my brother used to fish tournaments together, and we had a big bag of red shad power worms, right? And he's crushing them. I'm not getting a bite. But I notice he's picking all the black ones out. Right, and leaving all the red shad ones for me. I'm catching pickerel and he's catching bass. So you kind of learn, that color definitely can play a factor in the grass. You might want to switch colors if you're not getting bit, or just to show the fish something different. I'm not a big green pumpkin guy. I'll throw it here and there, but black, blue. Even on a jig, and this to me is a money bait, man. I mean, if you get them on a jig, they're usually the right kind, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the interesting things about fishing the jig in the grass, when you go to places like New York to fish, the Cayugas and Champlains and places like that, you can't get the bait fast enough to the bottom. Right? So if you throw a bait like this, you catch 2-pounders. You throw this bait like this, you catch 4-pounders. Mm-hmm. And it's just the rate of fall, man. I don't know what it is with the New York bass, but if you do that in Jersey, you're probably coming back with an empty live well, right?
You get them no-pounders.
Yeah, you need more finesse stuff in Jersey. And this will work on Oneida, fishing the cabbage grass. Cayuga has a lot of cabbage grass on it, the southern part of Champlain. If you told me to tie one bait on, you're going to go out in the grass and try to win a tournament, I'm going to throw a jig. Now, this is a great early morning bait because it puts off a lot of pressure waves. The bass could find it. And then as the day wears on, a lot of times you might have to switch tactics. Now, when you won your tournament, it would be good if you knew what kind of weight you were throwing, size at least. But, Pete threw a 3/4 ounce weight on a 5-inch Senko. The thing went to the bottom, dude, and probably left a dent in the bottom. But with that being said, those New York bass.
He told everybody it was a 3/8, right?
Yeah, with that being said, those New York bass, for whatever reason, man, they like those bigger fish, want the bait going to the bottom. like a bullet. And I, back in the old Redman days, you know, with a French fry, right? The old French fry, 4-inch French fry. There you go,
like
man.
that.
Right. And so, you know, guys would put on a 4-inch French fry with like a 3/8 sinker. That's how fast it's going to the bottom. And, you know, like I said, I don't know what the deal is with that up there.
Let me explain a situation that I encountered that really exemplifies your point. And this occurred in a crystal clear river system that I was fishing. You could see 5 feet to the bottom was gin clear. And I'm fishing undercut banks. And as I'm fishing these undercut banks, I'm passing bass, right? I'm casting to them and not catching them with standard, you know, weights, you know,
Right.
quarters, 3/8. I switched up to finesse. I went to light shaky heads, light line, super finessey stuff, and I continue to fish. Continue to not catch fish. I turned around and put on the heaviest jig that I had, a 1-ounce jig, and in a foot of crystal clear water, fishing right back through where I saw the fish and couldn't get them finesse. The 1-ounce jig, boom, right to the bottom, like you said, leaving a divot in the bottom. Well, but the fish were getting that super fast fall bait before it ever hit the bottom.
That's crazy, man.
So
just the reaction.
It's the reaction.
Yeah.
And the fish, and a lot of times, like it happened for me at Cayuga, it happens in that August, that dog days of summer, where the fish get weird, they get hard to catch. They've seen everything fall slow, but something zipping by their head at 100 miles an hour can get them to go. And that's what I did. We joke about the weight because Bob was asking. I thought I was throwing a 1/2 ounce, but the tungsten are so close in size.
Yeah.
He looked at it, said, that's 3/4, and then I double checked his work, and he was right. I was actually throwing a 3/4 and not a 1/2.
Yeah. Whatever won it.
Bob, do you remember this? It's a story from back, you know, a few years ago when you were in your heyday of your savagery, and I think you were out there fishing with Pete. Is Pete or I think it was Pete you were picking on. And you were asking him how heavy the weight he's using. He said, "What the hell how heavy is that weight? That thing's sinking faster than you are in the standings."
That was Mansu, dude.
Oh, was it Mansu?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
that was years ago. We were striper fishing, dude. What a waste of time that was, man.
Out on the flats?
No, we were up to Delaware, man.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's when he used to run those jet boat trips.
man.
Yeah.
But you know,
sinking faster than you are in the standings.
Yeah,
That's
and another tech.
Classic soleism.
Yeah, man. And another technique a lot of guys don't use, and you know, you can, especially on the New York lakes, which you're going to see guys start going to here soon. But you know, a lot of guys, and Jersey guys mostly, man. But you know, cranking could be a great way to catch them in the grass, man. And matter of fact, the one tournament I fished up at Cayuga, I thought it was going to be my main deal. I started the first day off like that, man, because I was catching big ones, cranking with this. There's a Series 5, and you know, just out on the edge of the grass. But the odd thing about that bite was that when I was catching them in practice, it was sunny as can be.
Mm-hmm.
First day of the tournament was cloudy. I couldn't get a bite on it. Make any sense?
No.
No, exactly what I thought, man. So I actually went to flipping in the grass, and I had one little tiny point I had, but you know, by that time you probably had 20 pounds, Pete. But you know, me, I was struggling, dude. You know, but you know, I picked up a big weight and went to work. You know,
well, the cranking is key.
Yeah,
Ike won down at Lake Seminole, cranking and ripping crankbaits out of the grass edges, the outside grass edges. Guys, Cayuga Lake this time of year, post spawn. And fish are going to be pulling to the outside edges, and a lot of times the big bags come on the deep diving crankbaits.
Yeah, and you could vary sometimes. You know, you know, you can like the southern part of Champlain. You know, you might catch them on a square bill. And the other interesting thing is sometimes you want to vary whether the bait has rattles in it or not. Sometimes I've seen that matter a lot, where you can get them on a bait that has no rattles. You can't get bit on a bait that has rattles in it. And the other bait this isn't exactly the bait I would throw, but usually a 3/4 or 1 ounce spinner bait with a big willow leaf on it and slow rolling in those same spots that you would crank, man. I mean, you're talking trying to catch big ones, you know, and, you know, it's a great technique because, you know, 90% of the bass caught on these lakes a lot of times during the tournament are pitching plastics, right? Everybody's out there throwing plastics in the grass, you know, so it's a different look to them sometimes, and a lot of times that could really fire them up, and you can catch them around guys that are throwing plastics, and you're out there cranking, and you all of a sudden you're catching good ones of the right kind. So, you know, all these techniques kind of work in different times and different conditions and whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. Great spattering of baits, and well, it's all the key stuff that catches them. BTC, you got something for us?
Yeah, I've got Mara Soli on Facebook wants to know, Bob, my husband, your brother wants to know, how do you find fish without him in the boat?
Sure. It's a lot easier, I'll tell you, man. Ask him about what happened to his cooler, man, on Cayuga, dude. I mean, I was out there, had a stomach problem, dude, you know, and you know, his cooler was a porta-john for me at the time.
Oh, my God.
We used to have a lot of fun. Me and my brother used to fish tournaments together, dude, a lot. And we went all over the place, all these grass lakes and everything, dude. And it was a lot of fun, man. We used to have a blast. You know how it was with us, Pete. We used to joke and go out and catch them and have a good time, man.
I mean, for people that don't know, Bob qualified for the Classic twice, and your brother...
Yeah, even though, you know,
one time.
I should be 3 and he should be 0, dude. Whatever. Yeah,
but you guys were just in Bassmaster not too long ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The brothers solely, one of the few brother combinations
it's
that
funny.
qualified for the Classic.
Yeah, he qualified in '98, and it was a kind of a funny story. We're at the divisional down at Kerr. I led the tournament the first day. He had 3 pounds. I had 15. I'm thinking he's no threat, dude, you know? So I cut my bait off and gave it to him. I said, throw this, dude. And the next day he smokes him, dude. You know what I mean? And the rest is history.
Did he really?
Yeah, true story,
What was the bait?
Chug bug.
Oh,
Chug bug.
Yeah. Yep. So he caught a big bag the second day, and then he caught 3 good ones the last day. You know, Kerr in the fall, super tough dude. You know, and it was cool, man, because I wanted to watch him weigh in. He fished High Rock Lake down there in North Carolina, and the weirdest thing about it was the very next year I qualified for the Classic, but I had no inkling it was coming.
How did you qualify the next year?
I qualified in the points and the invitationals. I finished 5th overall and out of 400 guys, some guy from Jersey, whatever.
Yeah.
Most of the places we went to I had never even been to. And, how fishing is when you're on a roll. Back in the day, it's kind of funny how different fishing is now, man. I mean, I lived on a spinnerbait. Back in the day, I covered tremendous amounts of water, dude. And, I literally told Rich this one time, I didn't own a spinning rod until, dude, I was like 40. It's not what I threw, dude. If I picked one up and the boat was coming by, I'd hurry up and put it on the deck. You can't see me throwing this thing, dude, So I lived on a spinnerbait and a jig, and that's kind of what I did, dude. It was my deal. So, I
remember feeling that same way out at the Bassmasters when I first started qualified.
Yeah, dude, you remember feeling that way, dude?
Yeah. I was I sounding like
no,
him?
but I'm trying to get you to.
Yeah.
Coaching you up, Pete.
But I wouldn't. I'd put the spinning rod down. Roland Martin would come by. I'd hide the spinning rod.
Yeah.
You're terrified. You're like, you can't be.
You get a bad rap, man. This guy's fishing with a spinning rod, man.
I remember. Was that the year you did good on Santee Cooper with the big spinnerbait? Speaking of which, it was like you found the only patch of grass on the lower lake. What's that, Moultrie?
Moultrie,
Moultrie.
Yeah.
And God almighty, they were giants.
Yeah, it was an interesting tournament for me, man, because this is no exaggeration. People say, well, you had a bad practice. How can you turn a bad practice into a good tournament? And I fished for 36 straight hours in practice without a bite. Without a single bite, dude. And I found this little depression on the flat. I had some stumps in it with some grass, and the first day of the tournament, I just, my partner wasn't on nothing. Nobody was, Remember, it was cold and muddy. And so I said, well, we'll run down to Moultrie, and I'll stop and fish this spot. And I threw a Carolina rig on it for about 5 casts, and I picked up a 1 ounce spinnerbait with a number 7 willow leaf on it and a gigantic Kalen grub, and bombed it out in the second cast. I caught a 7-pounder. And I had a chance to win that tournament. I just didn't get the right combination of bites. I got hung up on one of the stumps the last day, and this fish would have won the tournament for me. I got hung up on a stump, and I was trying to pop it off, and my partner flipped the jig over there and caught an 8-4.
Oh, God.
This wasn't meant to be. And to win an invitation, and you won invitationals, it was a big deal against, because you're fishing against 330 guys, and 150 of them are locals.
Yeah,
right? In every tournament, man. So it wasn't easy to do, and it was boater on boater back then. We only had 4 hours to fish, man. It was super tough. And Pete used to rock them back then. Matter of fact, when I qualified for the Classic, the last tournament, Pete actually won that tournament on Lake Martin, man. And it was when Pete gets on them, dude, he usually stomps their heads, and it's not even close, man. But it was an exciting time for us because you won the tournament. I was going to the Classic.
We went together.
Yeah, that's right. All three of us did. And it was an exciting time, man.
I tell you guys, I finished 4th up at Merrill.
Love it.
I remember.
Well, we gotta get you. When are you gonna get out there and smash some heads? And you've been on a hiatus.
Yeah, I haven't
from tournaments
fished
for a while. We miss you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to get at least another good year or 2 fishing all the time to get back in the swing. I haven't fished much, in the last. I haven't really fished competitively like in 10 years, dude. And. I miss it sometimes, and sometimes I don't, and the traveling part of it. Dude, I used to work and get in a truck on a Friday and drive to Santee Cooper to fish a Red Man tournament on Sunday and drive home and go to work on Monday. I mean, I was totally nuts at the time, dude, and I loved it, and we all traveled, but it gets, it gets exhausting after a while, man. And I miss being around you guys and having a good time.
That was the best part, and it still is.
Yeah. And it seemed like back then, like we didn't have many bad tournaments. Everybody was always doing good, and always help each other out whatever way we can. So there's parts of it I definitely miss a lot about it, and like I said, just hanging around with you guys was the best part of it.
It was the best.
It was.
And I miss our traveling partner Mancy, who's
man.
He's out west now, and. We just had such a good time. The houses were the best. I remember the Lake Martin tournament where my buddy was staying with us, and he snored so loud, he chased everybody. It was like It was like one of those bunk houses where there's like 6 or 8 bunks in a room. And within an hour, everybody was out in the living room. You were sprawled out.
Pillows taped around their head.
Over a chair.
Five dudes sleeping in one bed, dude. I'm like, it was nuts there for a little bit, man. But, Ken McIntosh, man. I'm thinking,
literally,
Pete?
Shout out to
Ken.
Yeah, Pete invites this guy over, and he's snoring, dude. Like, I never heard in my life, dude. Yeah, it was unreal, dude. But the funny part about it, there was a little pond behind his house, and we used to get off the water from the tournament day. And remember, we used to run back to that little pond and fish, and there was a bunch of fish in there. It was cool times, man.
Yeah, that was great times.
Yeah.
And
then you guys went inside, and everybody slept on the same bed.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was like, dude.
Well,
nobody. Sounds like good times. Man.
Yeah.
It was for us,
dude. It was like a John Erickson sleeping on the floor, stuff laying everywhere, dude. It's like a total bachelor pad, and fishing line laying. And I remember Mike saying was always, you got to leave evidence, man. Like leave all the fishing line behind, whatever, dude.
Got to leave evidence.
He was the king of leaving evidence.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever been around to watch Mike get ready for a tournament, dude. But my man, dude. I mean, this guy's like midnight, and he's still tying stuff up. 75 rods, just baits, and tons of tackle everywhere, dude. And it's crazy, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For anybody out there, we're giving away these Hobie glasses for whoever knows how many times Bob said "dude" tonight.
Oh, dude, dude.
2 more.
I'm kidding. No, we should have done that, but we didn't.
Oh my goodness. Do we have any IMs on the board?
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. So this question is going to be from Curtis Vick, and Sounds like he might have a tournament coming up, but he wants to know, what baits would you use to locate fish under grass mats, very thick grass mats, on the Potomac River during the late summer months?
Wow.
Well, here I just fished down there last year, so let's dive into the Potomac. Last year. What goes on down there, and you guys that have hydrilla in your lakes, the Florida lakes, you guys can appreciate this. The hydrilla is really dense, and the crawfish, Bob, I don't know if you've been to Potomac lately, but we've been fishing there for 30 years. I've never seen a crawfish explosion like they're having down there right now. Like the seagulls, they scavenge the crawfish, or graze is a better word. They just go out there and the crawfish are on top of the mat.
Wow.
They're scooting around eating on top.
Right.
And the seagulls will just fly over and pick one up, bring it over to the dock, and then rip it apart.
Wow.
And all the docks everywhere have crawfish parts on them. So here's the deal. Down there is, there's only really one way to get after them, and you got to go in. A frog, if you can get them to bite or chase a frog, that's clearly going to be your best weapon. But something that is compact, something with small appendages on it. This happens to be a smallie beaver, a good choice. You're going to need, a lot of times that time of year, you're going to need an ounce up to 2 ounce weight to be able to penetrate. But something with no appendages, very few, something that you can get down through that mat, and you're going to have to punch. That's going to be a big deal down there, because here's what I found down there in that time of years. They don't get on the outside of the grass that much. Like when they're on the outside of the grass, it's awesome. You can chatterbait them, you can spinnerbait them, you can crank them, you can do so many different things. But once they start coming in and munching on them craws, you got to go in after them. And it's slow as molasses, I promise you. But it's the fastest way to cover water is to get out there with a punch rig. So give that a shot, because that's going to be coming up here pretty soon. Right now, you can see we just saw the MLFLW tournament, one down there by the Italian guy who was chatterbait fishing and throwing a lizard. It's funny, we had the lizard show up, but I hadn't seen a lizard thrown in competition for a long time.
The lizard show.
Yeah, and but he won, fishing a vibrating jig, and that's going to continue, I would say, till probably August, and September and October you're going to be punching. But great question, and we'll hook you up with some cool Bass U swag.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to get a Gills Gear gift card for that one.
You want to go to another IM, Rich?
We can. Yeah, absolutely.
What do you got?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's been a great show so far with
wild and crazy.
Our guys on the board. And the next question is going to come from Team No Fish, and he wants to know, what's the best approach for fishing grass in the very backs of pockets?
Interesting. You want to try tackling that one, Bob?
I mean,
very backs of pockets.
Yeah, I mean, if the grass is in the back of a pocket, if it's matted or you're fishing shallower, like Pete was saying, a frog is a great way to go. And a frog, the good thing about a frog is it catches big ones. You know what I mean? Right. So it's a great technique to use if the grass is just matted up in the back of pockets, and or it's like that soupy, slimed up type grass, a frog is a great way to go. And it's a good way to locate fish too. If you could punch it or whatever you can do besides that, those are great techniques to catch them.
No doubt. And I'm thinking, let's talk frogs for just a little bit, because there's two types of frogs. There's the hollow belly frog, and then there's the buzz toad type of frog.
Actually, Pete, there's 28 different pronouns for frogs these days.
Yeah. Give us a couple.
Nope. Back to you.
The hollow belly has a bigger presence in the water. We saw Lee Livesey win fishing a frog where he was putting drop shot weights in the hollow belly, not so much for the noise, but to depress the mat so that the fish could feel and hear the bait better. So, and it was, so that frog
casting distance
too, getting away from the boat. But the hollow belly, generally speaking, is a slower presentation, and the buzz toad is, like we talked about, rate of descent. But for me, the buzz toad is a speed. There's two kinds. There's ones with the boot tail, like a ribbit, and then there's the horny toad. The horny toad is a fast-moving bait, and when I want to move that bait fast, it's a subtler, almost a finesse type frog that you can burn and get a lot of speed. So when and I just had this happen down the James River, where I was getting them, they were blowing the hollow belly out of the water. They were punching. They were doing everything but committing to the bait. And I switched over to the buzz toad, and I could get them to commit.
Wow!
It was moving, so it was moving too fast. They wanted to eat on the surface, but there was so much fishing pressure.
Right.
That speed was my friend, and I got them to commit to that style of bait. Here's a couple of baits right here. Yeah, here's here's two of the ones I've been talking about.
Yeah.
This is kind of a ribbit style. I don't know what brand that is, but it's got the boot tail. This is going to be it's a slower, louder type of buzz toad. This is the horny toad. A lot of guys are using that on their buzz baits now.
Yeah.
But it's really a finessey, speed-oriented presentation that I like so much. And then, of course, here we have a couple examples of the hollow belly frogs. These are, the standard frog. There's a poppin' style frog, but bigger presence in the water, moving it a little bit slower. But there's so much can be done with these weapons. Fred Rombanis and Ish both have amazing seminars, two of the greatest frog fishermen on the planet, about how to use these baits. Rombanis was, for me, the guy that first showed me that you could use this in open water. I was always a guy fishing it around the mat, around the slop, and it's great there. But this can be used in sparse vegetation to win events. And then Dean Rojas showed us how to skip it under bushes and docks to catch fish with a frog presentation that a lot of guys are missing. But it's good around a lot of places, but these are excellent tools around the grass for sure. But great question.
I like to move it.
We're going to hook you up with some cool stuff. And, guys, we have Facebook, like and share. You're still hanging out on Facebook? Like and share. We're going to be giving away a cool prize over there. We're going to be hooking you up with some great stuff. If you have not subscribed to Bass University, it's the Red, White, and BU promotion ends tonight. We're going to hook you up with the hat that Riz is wearing, which is really cool, red, white, and blue Bass University logo, and a great discount for annual subscribers. So go check that out. And, guys, it's always a free trial. If you want to dip your toe in, we've got over 900 instructional seminars and new stuff coming all the time over at Bass University TV. As a matter of fact, we are going to be out. Speaking of grass fishing, we're going to be out on the Chesapeake on Thursday, and we're going to be filming some instructional seminars using AquaView cameras. We're going to be showing you images of the various types of vegetation, from milfoil to eelgrass to hydrilla, and how we're going to use those different types of tools to fish that vegetation. We're going to be filming that stuff this week on Bass University, amongst many others. We're always hard at work delivering some of the best content on bass fishing on the internet. So
on the internet,
here's one of the crazy things that I want to address. We touched on it a little bit, guys. So I'm going to talk about line in grass, because when I won Cayuga, and I'm bringing that up to brag again, but I used 20-pound fluorocarbon.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that it was an important thing. Now, the next year or 2 years later, Hackney won. I was using this kind of, I was using this presentation, actually, a stick bait. He went with the jig, and he was using a 1 ounce. I was using 3/4. Both fast fall, aggressive baits. He uses braided line. Mm-hmm. He used braided line on Cayuga and totally dominated the Elite Series tournament there. So it really questioned, and I'm still wrestling with the question of line. I fished next to Bobby Lane on Lake Champlain, and he outperformed me greatly. in a deep water, clear water situation using braided line, and I was using fluorocarbon. So I'm still wrestling with braided line.
How greatly
in the grass.
How greatly was this beating? I mean,
Bobby.
Yeah, talk about the beating.
Well, he made the cut and I didn't.
Well, I mean, give me some measuring sticks.
Geez, here's a measuring stick. We were fishing one area, and although I did catch lunker in the tournament there, so I'll take that.
That's what's up.
But he outperformed me such that I left the area. Like he made the cut there, and
he took your soul.
Yeah, he took my soul.
Wow.
And he did it.
Wow.
He did it with braided line, and I just was blown away by that. I didn't think that could work. But here, Greg Hackney in one of his Bass U seminars says, when I'm flipping in the grass, I don't care about line. The line looks like another stalk of grass. The fish don't know it. It doesn't matter to me. But the benefits of being able to detect the strikes and get the positive hook set penetration, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, he proved it.
He proved it.
Yeah, he did.
But
it was wild. I remember that win.
I mean, so many times I've seen it matter. Like you said, the difference in line diameter sometimes can matter.
But the difference, I think, with that type of fishing, you're talking strictly power fishing, dude. You know what I mean? The bass ain't got a
minute to think
about
it.
A 1 ounce jig coming buzzing by their head, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you
Right,
fish
they're not hitting that jig on the hop.
Sometimes it depends.
Yeah,
man.
like maybe 1 out of 10 bites. It's all on that initial fall.
Yeah, I mean,
don't give me this shit.
I
remember when he was on the show. It was all about that initial fall.
It really was, but you saw him work it too.
Yeah,
and you saw him get those bites. But I don't know. Here's my deal. Like I was, fishing, stained water place that we all fish, and I used to throw my vibrating jigs on braid exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I started fishing that thing because it was just so good around the grass. You can clear it so easily. And I was out with some customers, and I gave them my braided rods to use, and I only had a fluoro left. I tied the bait on my rod, and I caught the first and second fish. I thought it was the bait. I cut my bait off, and I tied it on one of their other rods. I caught the next couple of fish. I cut that bait off, and so they're using the baits that caught the fish. I used a ridiculous color and caught the next fish. And I'm using fluoro. They're using straight braid.
Mm-hmm.
I tied leaders on their rods, just put on a 5-foot leader, and they were able to catch them toe to toe on a vibrating jig, a presentation flying through the water, ripping through the grass, and yet it mattered. It mattered in that day.
Right.
So for me, because it mattered that day, that's what I do.
You threw all your braided line out.
I still, I just if I use it, I use a leader.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
You know,
here's a crazy thing, man. I mean, there's times in the grass, dude, or fishing period, I still use mono.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. People think, I don't think
mono. Talk to me. Why?
Tell me mono a lot in the winter.
Yeah, I mean, when you're fishing grass and it's not excessively deep, I'm talking, once I start getting out in grass that's deeper and I'm worried about a more powerful hook set. But if I'm not using like a super finesse presentation, I'll use 20-pound big game, dude, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I like it because it's more manageable on a reel. Fluorocarbon could be a nightmare. Yeah, it could be a nightmare. And so I'll use fluorocarbon, but I have no problems with using mono too, even flipping or whatever the case may be. There's nothing wrong with
Well,
using
you think
it.
about it, when you have such a short amount of line out,
right,
you're not going to get that much stretch.
No, exactly. And I'm a tall guy. I use, flipping in the grass, 7-9 rods, 7-9 rods. So you got a lot of leverage.
Yeah, I'm a tall guy, huh?
Exactly. And, fluorocarbon, I mean, if I feel it matters, I might throw a rod with fluorocarbon, one with mono, and if it doesn't matter, I'll throw the mono, man, instead of the fluorocarbon. Just for the simple fact I like the way, it's easier to manage on a reel.
All right.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
You feel like you can be more accurate with your flips, or?
No, I mean, I could cast the same with the fluorocarbon or whatever, but I just think that, mono isn't as coily as fluorocarbon, man. That's just the way I feel about it, and I don't think it really there's some things in fishing, I think, that are taken to extremes, and fluorocarbon's one of them. It's just my opinion, man. You know what I mean, guys? And today, everybody throws fluorocarbon.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and I don't think fluorocarbon mono, you know, maybe if you're fishing deep it might matter, or some finesse presentation, but, you know, if I'm flipping a half-ounce jig and I'm throwing 20-pound big game, you're throwing 20-pound fluorocarbon, you're going to get more bites than I am? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I could see it. Hackney's going to be throwing braid right next to us and challenging us on how many bites we're going to get.
I've heard guys, you know, with the braid and one of the things guys will talk about sometimes, and you know this, when you're punching, that braid is
noise.
Yeah, the noise of it. You know what I mean? Yep. On top of the grass or the mat or whatever you're flipping, man. So,
so I got to get that silent flip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that braid is definitely, you're going to get better hook sets or get them out of really super heavy cover. But, you know, in milfoil, I've never had really a problem with losing fish really at all, man. I mean, you're cracking them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's because you still have, you know, all-star fishing rods from 1980.
Yeah, that's true. You know? One thing I can tell you is they don't break. You know, the rods today, man, you see guys on TV, I just broke my rod, you know, on a hook set. It's like amazing, dude, you know?
What are you talking about? They got like 2-3 eyes left on them.
Yeah. What?
Your rods.
Oh yeah.
But they ain't broke, just eyes.
No, I'm just saying the rods today, they break like crazy, man. You know.
Well, you know, for me, it's like I do change my rod. Like if I'm using fluoro, I can't use the pool cue in certain, especially if I'm in you know short range. I've got to have a little give. There's got to be a give in there somewhere.
Right.
Mono, you know, it lets you use the pool cue.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But on the fluoro side, it allows you to use a lighter rod, you know, because now you have less rod fatigue. So there's benefits on all sides of it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I love the braid. The braid is great, and I would love to do it. But I've just I watched Greg win, but I still have to have that leader, and I'm so confident in my leader that I use. So.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's easy. You know, if I need to use braid and I'm missing fish and I'm confident in using that leader. But it's funny, that one experience where the braid mattered. I'm like, how many other times did it matter? You know? I don't know.
By the way, guy Keith Thomas from up at Knock, his favorite braids on all his rods is silent flip.
Cortland?
Yeah, Cortland.
The Cortland silent flip. That was like our ICAST pick that year.
Well, so a Bass U subscriber, Captain Justin Jones, he's a guide down on Okeechobee. He developed that line with Cortland, but he brought the idea and the concept to them off of something that he had heard on Bass University.
Wow.
So about braid being loud when you're flipping grass.
Let me ask you a question. What are you throwing your top waters on?
Mono.
Enough said, dude.
Enough said.
If it doesn't matter on top water, it don't matter when you're flipping 15 feet, and you know, not deep, but you know.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, if I'm fishing deeper in the grass, I'll use fluorocarbon just because I think you do get a better hook set with it. But when you're in that 8, 10 foot, 9 foot of water, dude, I don't know, man. I don't think it plays a factor. And then you're throwing a top water on mono.
I know. The mono, because it floats, and it has to float, right? You can't. You know, fluoro is going to just destroy the action of the bait, so you just can't use it.
Right.
And your options are braid or mono, and once again we saw Lee Livesey with braid just dominate the field. What my problems that I have with braid is its usability is in question. The braid will twist and get on the hook, and you got to cut and retie. There's no way to undo that, and that's a big problem. But for me, you know, when I had some negative experiences with it, because I wanted to, you know, experiment with it, was up for fishing smallmouth on topwater. Is I can't tell you how many topwater smallmouth I lost on braided line.
Right. And
they're so aggressive, they're so ferocious that they were able to get off. So I'm a mono guy, just like you, on topwater. There you go.
There you go.
Let's address the elephant in the room here.
Talk to me.
We've done all this blah, blah, blah about grass all night. Snell to Snell or not to Snell? Where you at? Where you at?
All right. Let's go around the room, man. We'll start with you, Bob.
So the only time I'm going to Snell is if I'm punching. If I'm using a big weight, that's when I'm going to Snell. If I'm just out fishing in the grass, I'm not going to Snell. And I'm going to use a wide gap hook in regular milfoil. You know,
That's right.
I'm not going with
You
a regular flipping hook like this. You know, I use a regular Gamakatsu super line hook, you know, extra wide gap, whatever you want to call it. But if I'm punching or the grass is excessively thick, I'm going to go with a Snell.
And a heavy weight.
And a heavy weight.
Riz, you Snelling?
Oh, sorry, Richard.
I am Snelling. I actually started Snelling this year. The only reason that I started to do it is because I have I've had a tendency to break fish off when my tungsten slides down and hits my knot. I would break my knot.
Wow, that's an interesting reason.
I have a
to
tendency
do
to
it.
swing pretty aggressively on bites, and
Yeah, we've seen that.
yeah, and my reasoning was
Whose
always like
tungsten are you using?
whatever's rolling around on the boat.
Fair enough.
You know, whatever I can get my hands on. But
Right.
but yeah, I started Snelling this year really. And another thing is like I fish my flipping baits a lot unpegged. So that line, that weight to like the hook distance, it can build up some speed getting down there. And I think that's part of the reason why when it was hitting that improved clinch knot, it was slicing it. But so I started Snelling this year, and I'm really happy with it. My hookup percentage has been strong, and it seems like all the fish are getting hooked where I want them to be hooked, like up in the top of the roof of the mouth. So until it stops working, I'm going to keep rolling with it.
It's all about the strike to catch ratio,
Yeah.
and that's the key. You know, you were having a problem, you made an adjustment, and it's working for you. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I got a question that he brought up a great point, man. You pegging it?
not most of the time, no.
So when you fish in deeper grass, if you don't peg it, you got a problem because you want the bait to fall with the
Right.
weight. You know,
Right.
you're going to have your bait hung up on a piece of milfoil up here, and your weight's going to be on the bottom. It's not
Right.
going to work.
Right.
So the other reason why I would be kind of hesitant in deeper milfoil to Snell, a bait, a Snell hook, is that you want the bait to hang as straight as possible, you know, and when you tend to Snell, it tends to get a little,
it gets lift.
right? So it's not going to have a
Yeah, it
true
lifts
fall
it a
on
little
it.
bit.
So one of the things we didn't talk about tonight when you're fishing grass, and especially deeper grass, milfoil, is how to go about casting, how to go about fishing it, because you want a true fall on the bait. If you don't get that true fall, a lot of times you just don't get bit. You know, so a lot of key things are you want the wind at your back, you want to drift with the wind at your back.
Yeah, you gotta-
I cast out, pull the bait towards me a little bit, and
Yeah.
then give it slack line so it gets a true fall.
You got to mend your line to give it the
Right.
slack
So
you
if
need.
you don't get that bait hanging perfectly straight, I would say a Snell in deeper milfoil. If they're beating it off the bottom, it probably doesn't matter. But if they're hitting it on the fall, it might
matter.
It might matter.
Yep. Well, see, like when at Cayuga, I was pegging for that reason.
Right.
But the reason I was pegging is the fall, because when you put that heavy weight on the front of a stick bait,
Yeah.
it actually doesn't fall straight down. You think
Kind of has that.
it goes all over the
Yeah,
place,
right.
and if it's unpegged, what happens is the weight separates
Yeah.
from the bait, and it just tends to do this on
Right.
the way down, which can sometimes trigger it. But when it was shooting and darting and going all over the place on the fall, that was a huge trigger. Just down at the Chesapeake, where I'm flipping bushes and wood and that kind of stuff, I had to peg because
Bushes.
I was trying to throw this bait unpegged, because I prefer to throw unpegged because my hookup's better.
Right, right.
But I couldn't. It was hanging up. The weight would go down. The bait would get hung up on the bushes and all that kind of crap. So I had to peg. So, man, I go both. I peg and unpegged. I prefer to go unpegged. In the shallow grass, you can get away with it.
Where the hell are you finding bushes on the Chesapeake?
Man, they're all over. Up
talking
on the
about
banks,
trees?
the creeks. Yeah.
You're just talking about the trees.
Yeah.
The big laydowns.
Yeah.
All right. But they're not bushes.
And bushes. And
bushes?
I can't tell
Bushes.
you. I got to keep some secrets, man.
All right. I know what you're talking about.
But here's the deal. A Snell knot, guys, for those of you guys that don't know what it accomplishes. And I'm not tying it right now, but standard knot, when you set the hook, you're going to get penetration like this. The hook's going to stay in with respect to the line in the straight line pull. When you snell a bait, what it does is it causes the hook to kick out to the side in this fashion when you set the hook. The line pushes against, or the weight pushes against the line tie of the hook, and it kicks it out to the side. And guys have theorized that is going to give you a better hooking percentage, and it really came to light in down in the Florida lakes when guys were punching hydrilla, and they felt that their strike to catch ratio was better when they used a snell knot and got that hook to kick out to the side. For me, I have not. I use the snell knot. I've gone away from the sweaty snell knot, and I've gone. And here we got Riz is going to tie.
You want to slide in right there? All right, wherever you're comfortable, Rich.
There you go. Riz is going to tie a snell knot for us. But yeah, I vividly remember the Lake Okeechobee FLW tournament that where this finally came to light. Of course, the local guys had been doing it for a while, and they were just trying to find better ways to get those fish up and out of the mat.
Well, one of the things is why is because they were also throwing a 2-ounce weight.
Right.
So without the hook kicking out, you blow the fish's mouth open, and you get no fish. And that's just.
and they were looking for solutions for it. And so, Riz, can you explain what you're doing? Oh, he doesn't have a mic. I don't even recognize the snell knot that you're tying. This is the snell knot. What it really does is you're tying the knot around the shaft of the hook, and that's the big difference, right? A typical knot is tied around the hook eye, but a snell knot is tied around the shaft, and that creates the scenario that Rich is about to show you right now.
So, like I was saying, guys, the issue that I was running into is when this tungsten was hitting my improved clinch knot, which would be above the hook eye. It was slicing, but with the snell knot, the weight just hits the eye of the hook, and as you can see, it's a really tight knot. It's strong. It's low profile, and what happens when your weight hits it is it lifts that hook up. It changes the angle of the hook, and what you want it to do is bring that hook point right up into the roof of that fish's mouth, so that you get that positive hookup. But yeah, the biggest reason for me was just so that my tungsten weight is not hitting my my knot when I'm swinging on those fish. Typically around grass, I'm keeping it pegged, but if I can get away with fishing unpegged around cover, I'm going to do that just because I feel like most guys aren't doing that, and the bait definitely has a different fall when it's unpegged. So, snell knot.
Nice demo. Well, here's a bent shank hook, and here's the deal. Here's the way I explain it to guys. This is probably the most, easy to fish.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Your bait hangs up on the elbow real nice, and you can fish it straight. If you are losing fish with this technique, maybe your weight's big and it's blowing the fish's mouth open, and you're losing, the adjustment is to go to a straight shank. A straight shank hook is your next move if you're losing fish with this style of hook. And then if you're losing fish with a straight shank, then my next move is to go to the snell knot. So that's my 1, 2, 3 approach, and that's where Rich is.
Mach Schnell.
But if your strike to catch is strong, if you're catching, with these techniques, you ought to be catching the majority of the fish that bite. And
the only other thing I do with an extra wide gap hook is I offset this point slightly.
Yeah, that's cool adjustment.
And that definitely, you get better hookups in my opinion like that. But I mean, just slightly, not much. Just so almost like a true turn hook, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I do with it.
True turn.
Yeah.
Dude, you are old.
I am. There's no doubt about it, man. You know what I mean?
Have you ever heard of true turn, Riz?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely old school stuff, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is awesome. Yeah.
I remember True Turn.
Yeah, I remember it too. Kicking it out the side. Great knot demo though, Riz. Thank you for that.
Got it.
And flipping grass, man. You got to be getting into the grass. And once again, I'm going to reiterate, guys, don't be intimidated by the grass. You got, beginnings of grass beds, ends of grass beds, thicker, thinner parts. There's ways to key on it, but make sure you pay attention to where your bites are coming from because it's really going to help you. And don't be intimidated by throwing these baits like crankbaits and topwaters around the grass. One of my favorite deals that happened to me in the fall, you get the floating grass.
Yeah,
where it all dies
yeah,
off.
yeah.
And man, it gets hard. You want to throw the blades or topwaters. It's so hard. And I was using that plopper bait, the whopper plopper bait when it first came out, and I got it and I'm throwing it around and during the floating grass time of year. And I can't make two cranks, and it's fouled up, And I'm like, well, this is a really cool-looking lure, but I can't use it. And I made a couple more casts, and I was ready to put it down, and I got two cranks, and then boom, a 5-pounder came up and blew up on it. So the point is, to persevere in that, learn to work around that grass. Like even that time of year, there's things that you can do, like one of the things we do, remember that we used to fish the Hudson River all the time.
Yeah.
And it got that floating grass mats when the fall would come. And you try to fish a point, and it would just be grass.
Yeah.
Couldn't get your bait near. But what I learned was that if you left and came back like 30 minutes later, that it was clear.
Yeah.
And you could fish it.
Yeah.
Same things happens on natural lakes and various other places. If you just wait for the wind to move, shift, and you can go back and you can fish those baits on clean water. So it's frustrating, especially that floating grass or any type of grass fishing, but you must persist. It's where the winning fish live. And I know we had
Thou shalt persist.
Yes, we had a question about professional fish head. He's doing well. He's recovering nicely. He was ill, and we have Justin Kimmel's list tonight, and
it will be recited by Richard Ledbeater.
Riz, take us home.
All right, guys, we're talking grass tonight, and it's that time of year for a lot of our viewers that watch the Bassmaster Elites. They're getting ready to head up to Lake Champlain. There will certainly be some grass fishing going on, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of local tournaments getting fished right now in grass too. So we're going to kick things off with the top 5 Bass U TV seminars for summer grass fishing. Number 5 is going to come in from Seth Fighter, Shallow Water Smallmouth. This one is geared for our northern friends, but Seth Fighter says you can catch the biggest smallmouth of the year in the summertime shallow. These big smallies stay shallow in the summer and often get overlooked, and now is the perfect time to study up with the post-spawn and the spawn periods in that region. Go up north, fish for the big smallies up shallow. Todd Faircloth, Fishing Vegetation, Summer and Fall. This is the perfect follow-up to what we're talking about tonight. Grass fishing through the summer and fall periods. Faircloth walks us through the understanding of how bass move through the grass during these seasons and how to catch the biggest bass of the year all summer long.
Great seminar.
Number 3, Gerald Swindle Ledge Fishing Techniques. In this hour-long on-the-water session, G-Man walks us through his starting lineup of summertime ledge techniques, but then breaks out a couple of techniques that he wasn't too keen on letting us know, including the Tokyo rig in ways you may not have seen it fished before. Oh. That's a good one. Jason Christie, Shallow Bass Fishing with a focus on summer. Jason shares his best summertime tips along with the theory that while the most bass are out deep in the summer, oftentimes the biggest ones are not. You can catch giant bass shallow this time of year. Mike Iaconelli comes in at number 1 with the top 3 summer bass fishing patterns. This seminar is straight out of the book of Ike, and the phrase he relies on through the heat of the summer: deeper, thicker current. In this seminar, Ike dives deep into each summertime pattern that represents the phrase deeper, thicker current, including his 9 favorite summertime techniques to use in every situation. This is an absolute can't-miss summertime seminar. Guys, if you're not subscribed to Bass U TV, right now is a great time to do it. Get signed up. Get your red, white, and BU Bass University official hat, and you're going to save $30 on your annual membership. No reason not to do it.
Mike Iconelli.
Great stuff. Great seminars. Great picks, JK, if you're watching. And we hope to have you back next week on Bass University
He's
Live.
getting better, but his Wi-Fi got ill tonight. So that's why.
Yeah, well, we struggle with that, don't we?
Indeed, we do. Good job, Rich.
Yep.
Thanks, man.
My way to read.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
Reading.
I used to be able to read.
Well, it's good stuff. I can't wait to fish grass. On my schedule, I have Lake Champlain and I have Lake Oneida, and 2 great northern bodies of water. And I'm going to be fishing.
When you
grass.
at Champlain?
Next week.
Wow.
Next week.
So how much you paying attention to this week?
Up at Champlain?
Yeah.
The storms coming up the coast, you mean? The tropical storm?
No, I don't know what that is. We having storms?
He's talking about the tournament that's going to be
Champlain, bro.
Oh, the elite tournament up there?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'll be taking, I'll be up there when those guys are just finishing up.
You will be.
Yeah. So.
Oh man, that's so tricky.
Yeah, well, it is tricky. I'm going to try to stay off and.
So when does practice start for you guys? Actually, whenever, right?
It's whenever.
Yeah.
But my plans right now are to arrive on Saturday and be Sunday, first day on the water. That's the finals. So there's only 10 guys left on the water. And, I'll just have to measure my practice accordingly. I mean, I'm really not trying to catch a lot of fish when I'm fishing anyway.
Where are they out of this year?
They're Plattsburgh.
Plattsburgh.
Yeah. So we'll but I'll be watching. I'll be watching the whole time. So hopefully I'll know where all the guys are and I can stay out of those areas.
Yeah.
And honestly, from my tournament's perspective, you're better off not fishing anywhere near where those guys are fishing, practicing. I mean, it's kind of a deal where it's Brian Thrift's strategy is you pay extreme attention to where the tournaments are being won, and you go anywhere but there.
Yeah,
that's without a doubt
for the tournament.
Yeah, without a doubt.
For your tournament.
Yeah,
following that.
Tell them to bring that to the flats. Bring that down to the Chesapeake, Bri.
Yep. But the beauty of a place like Lake Champlain is it can be won anywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. So, that it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. Look forward to seeing the elites coming back to action. And, man, I'm just fascinated. I love watching the fishing tournaments. I always used to talk to you, Bob, all the time. Do you still dial in to what's happening and who's catching what and where?
Yes, he does.
Are you still watching?
I do still watch. I mean, I enjoy. I mean, now they got live and stuff. Before you used to have to wait for a show to come out or whatever, Bassmasters, man. But history has a, places like the Potomac and stuff like that. They have such a history to them. Yeah. And even today, I'll still go back to older tournaments that are fished. When Bob Cobb and Ray Scott. And
love that stuff.
Yeah, I like the history of bass fishing and how much the fisheries have changed over the years. Mm-hmm. And you look at the Potomac now; it's completely different than it was 30 years ago.
Of course, it was won at a Potomac Creek. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Dude. There's my
there
solely impression. Dude, I got one out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we used to live in Potomac Creek, and here it was finally won again after 30 years.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Work,
but I agree with you. When a guy nowadays with the amount of press coverage a guy gets winning a tournament and locals following him, man, the chances of you going in there the following week and winning a tournament off the same spot are probably nil to none, dude. You know what I mean? So, but one thing that's unique about Champlain and Cayuga is that, right, the smallmouths are just getting off the beds, but the largemouths down south, they're way done.
Yeah.
Right? So in Cayuga, it's the opposite. Up north, the largemouths are way done, and the smallmouths could still be spawning right now, So it's a good strategy of what you're going to fish or how you're going to fish, and are you going to make the big run down a tie or stay up north and fish? And if I'm a gambling man, I say Pete Lusik's going to stay north of the border, man.
I love fishing north. There's no doubt about it. And Ike, shout out to Ike for ninth place finish?
Seventh.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean 7th place finish at the Hobie Kayak Derby on Lake Champlain.
That's right.
Fished largemouth. He was one of 2 largemouth guys to make the top 10.
Yeah, how do you catch him, Rich?
Oh, just throw Shanko all day.
Yeah, he's out there just throwing Shanko.
Yeah, probably just throw Shanko all day.
Fishing the retreads.
Yeah, just throw Shanko.
Well, it was it was interesting. The kayak tournaments are won on length.
Yeah.
And the smallmouth outperformed largemouth greatly in a length competition.
Yeah.
That's interesting. If you're a kayak guy, wow. What an important thing to know on that particular body of water.
I'll tell you an interesting thing that happened to me at Champlain. I fished up north. I would never really practice down south, and they had a Redman tournament. Went out of South Bay. I ran from South Bay to Mizzicoy, dude. Whoo!
Did it take you like 3 days?
It's something like that. I didn't make it back. Let's just put it that way. I literally tore my motor right off my boat, man. It was
where did that happen?
About halfway back. I was 52 miles.
You made it there, and you were halfway back.
Yeah, 52 miles from the ramp. I all of a sudden the boat sat down. I'm like, I look back, the motor's like laying sideways, dude, So we had big bags. And we get into a guy's boat. One boat coming past us. He picks us up. He gets a mile from the ramp and runs out of gas.
Oh,
I never even got a chance to weigh in, dude, but... It was just one of those stories you tell, tournament fishing, man. The wind kicked up, man, and I got in that middle section, man, and there was nowhere to hide, dude.
Yeah.
Nowhere to hide at all, man. It was rougher than rough, man. Yeah. But it was like 100 and some miles I ran one way. And all the fish
50 miles
That's
back.
your style, though.
Yeah, so I threw an anchor out, left my boat there, and there was I had to look for a ramp to go back and to try to find my boat, man. Actually, man, I had no idea. I knew it was 50 miles up the lake, dude. And we found a ramp, and a buddy of mine went, and we rode out there. It was like pitch black, 11 o'clock at night. Got my boat and towed it back to the ramp.
That's awesome.
What'd you do with the motor?
We kind of like just winched it on there, man. We got some straps and just had it hanging on there, dude. And it's just enough. I got the boat on the trailer with the trolling motor, and then we got straps to hang the motor up, dude. And it was,
back
one
to
of those
Jersey
things.
we went.
Yeah, and back then I used to fish tournaments. I would do whatever, dude. Like the one tournament I ran from Frankfurt Arsenal to Middle River, dude.
Yeah, I remember.
In a tournament, man, with a 150, dude, 18-foot boat.
For those of you,
insane.
He launched at one body of water, ran through a
three
connecting canal
states
system,
to get there, baby.
3 states.
You're right.
But you won that. You won in that situation.
I won the points. I didn't win the tournament though, dude. Believe it or not, it was so tough on both places back then. And my first cast, I caught a bluefish.
Oh God!
on a jerkbait, man.
A blue.
Told my partner, I got a big one, dude. The thing jumps up and I see this big silver thing. What the heck is that, dude? And I reel it in. It's a bluefish, man. It's crazy, dude. Crazy, man. The most interesting thing about it was both of my partners were all excited. The guy gets in the boat in the morning and he says, "Well, where are we fishing, man?" I said, "Well, we're on the Middle River." And he's like, "I never heard of that before." So we ran down there, and I never seen the guy on Champlain was all excited. We're going to see the whole lake, and I never seen either guy ever again, dude. And they were like die-hard non-boaters, dude. It was so rough, man.
You ruined them.
I did, man. Put a big stress crack on my boat running back on the flats, man. It was brutal, dude. But back then, I would have done whatever it took to try to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I don't.
That's how we learned. That's what we
I
did.
don't want to run 20 yards now. I'm like, dude, are you out of your mind? You know what I mean, dude? I'll fight it out right here.
We're gonna put the Ultrex right here.
Yeah, I'll fight it out right here, dude. I'm good, dude. What's it like 5 minutes back to the? It's a long run, dude. You think we should get going? You know? Yeah, I'm doing all that again.
I'm
man.
fishing Thousand Islands this year.
Oh, what a story
and
that
I,
was,
and I
man.
never forget this story.
Yeah.
Like the waves are massive. It's like they're calling out of Canada 3 to 4 meter waves. Is the forecasted wave height.
Yeah.
And they let us go, and you come out of the mouth of the St. Lawrence, and the waves are so tall that everybody's turning around and going back.
Yeah.
But we all persisted. Me, you, and Ike. We all persisted. And we ran 10, 12-foot waves.
That's because you didn't know what meters were.
Yeah, that's
true. It must be small.
Yeah,
3
to 4, yeah,
3
that's
meters?
nothing.
Oh, man, that's nothing.
Yeah.
So we get there, and, anyway, you and your guy had a good day.
Yeah.
And you guys smashed them in that heavy. You somehow made it there, and something happened on your way back. We happened to be running next to each other, and, dude, I'll never forget. I look over, and the waves – like, you see Bob driving, but the waves are just coming right over his boat and his chest. It's like they're just he's
insane.
level flotation. Like, we're in these giant swells, And I'm looking over, and he's like, Pete. And I'm like, I'm pretending not to notice, I'm like,
exactly.
Like,
dude.
He'll drive through it. He'll make his way through.
Yeah, he'll figure it out.
He was a Boy Scout. He's good. Give him a compass.
So he beaches it. This is the greatest because he beaches his boat, and we're out there waiting for him. But there's no beach on Lake Ontario. It's all rock.
Yeah,
so
for 100 yards, 200 yards.
So I remember you had, I think it was a Triton.
Yeah.
I remember he's got a fishtail, and he's driving his boat up on rock.
Oh.
So he can get his boat again.
Yeah.
And then
to get it pumped out.
Just to come in with me.
What happened to you, Bob? What happened to the boat?
So it was like a 2.5-hour run out there in the morning because it was so rough, dude. So I had 3 hours of fish. We caught a big bag, and what happened was, man, I was drifting. Back then, we used to throw a drift sock out, remember?
Yeah.
And I threw the drift sock out, and all day, I guess waves were breaking over my motor and whatnot, dude. And
Bilge couldn't keep up.
Right. At the end of the day, I wanted to take off. I told my partner, I said, let's go, man, because I figured give myself 3 hours to get back. And I mad at the throttle, and it bogged down, and 3 rogue waves just broke right over the boat. It was instantaneous, dude. It was like, boom. And I'm like, dude, like sitting in a bathtub, dude, And so this dude completely lost his marbles, dude. He was freaking out because he had a really big bag, too. And he does the dumbest thing he could possibly do. He opens the live well. And 20 pounds of smallmouth just jumped down into the bottom of the boat, and they're swimming around. He's trying to grab them and tackle them, dude. And it was like a bear because he was a big dude, man.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
It was like a bear, like trying to grab salmon, dude. It was crazy. and so I'm like, dude, we're kind of like hanging on the side of the boat at the time because you couldn't really touch ground. The scariest thing that happened to me was the boat got lifted up. I got sucked under it.
Oh.
And I pushed off, and the boat crashed down on the rocks. This is I came up on the other side, and it was just one of those deals. And then, me and my partner split up, which
because
right?
I'm looking at him like, dude, your partner's big.
Yeah, he was a big dude.
And I'm
man.
like, I can't take your fish, you and your partner in these giant swells.
Right,
I mean, I don't.
right.
So who came and helped us?
I think Joe Thomas.
Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
So I took you, I guess, or your partner, and Joe took the other. So we had the 2 boats came in, and it was a big rules violation.
Yeah, it was. And my partner was in 3rd place at the time.
Yeah.
And Dewey Kendrick, toughest male on the planet. He says to us straight up, "You're DQ'd." Now my partner's pleading his case. I'm walking away because I had enough, dude. You know. And I'm like, thank, I got to go out tomorrow. And,
but plus, like, hey, dude, I've been DQ'd before.
Yeah.
I know how this is going to go.
Right. My partner's begging, to let him fish, and Dewey's like, all right, this one time, because we were kind of inside of each other, whatever.
That was the rule because they were in sight of each other.
Yeah, and
it let it
so
happen.
the last day I went out and fished, and it was a good choice for me. I cashed a good check, so my boat, it got literally pounded across the rocks and was laying on its side in like 3 inches of water, dude. And you could see a line of gel coat for like 200 yards.
Oh my God!
Where it just got pulverized, man. And, dude, every tackle box I had was like an aquarium. And it was cold. This is in the fall, dude. It was freezing cold. And you know, I didn't even want to go fishing the last day. And we went out the last day. It was flat. And my partner, he's like, you know, I'll drive you out there. You run a trolling motor, and we'll go fishing. It was a good choice. I mean, we clobbered him the last day, man. But it was like one of those deals driving home. You're like, dude, what, you know. What just happened to me, dude? You know?
I caused $30,000 worth of damage to my boat, and I made $5,000.
Yeah, that's about the size of it, man.
But I remember being out there in the surf because it was like the beach.
Yeah,
right. The waves were breaking,
dude.
and I had to keep my boat out beyond the breakers.
Yeah, we had to kind of like swim out.
So
to the
they
thing.
they had to walk out to their chest.
Yeah.
They had one of those zip. Tackle bags.
Yeah.
They put their fish in one of those zipper bags, which was brilliant, and put it over their shoulder and walked out to their necks, and then had to swim out to me to be able to get him out. Because if I went in even a little bit closer, I'd have been in the curl.
Yeah.
So they had to dodge the curls.
The funniest thing I remember about it, because my partner, dude, he was $3 bills all day long. Looking back, and Joe Thomas and his partner trying to pull the guy over the gunnel by his pants, dude. It's like, he barely made it, dude. And I saw the back end of the boat sit down a little bit more. I'm like thinking, they're not going to get in, dude. There's no way. You know? Oh, dude. Sometimes, man, fishing, some of the stories. At the time, it wasn't
priceless.
funny, but yeah, it was priceless.
I remember we all got out there and we somehow found a place to get your trailer near the water and like, I don't know, 6 or 8 of us grabbed the boat and lifted it up on the trailer.
Yeah.
What the hell good stories are they going to talk about now? Like, remember the time we went out in the hard rain?
Yeah. The most amazing thing.
Tournaments for the most ridiculous shit.
We fished for like 2 hours in hard rain before they canceled it.
We had a dangerous fog delay.
I hate that. I wish they'd go back to the Cowboys.
Remember
days,
John
man.
almost walked off the dock?
Speaking of walking off the dock, you ever tell you the time my partner fell in at the Hudson River? That was another tragedy, dude. You know,
was that the one that took place at the launch?
Yeah. Everybody's like, Sully, I seen you push him in, man. You know? He was a big dude, and I came up to the dock, and the current's ripping, dude. And I grabbed the pole, and he was a big dude, and I had to step back. And once I stepped back, my boat started to drift away, and the dude just did a split.
Oh,
dude, you know?
he did the split.
And he had his stuff on my boat, and he washed up on the mud, and he's just laying on his side, dude. And I was like, dude, you gonna fish or what, man? You know? And he's like, no, I don't think I'm going. So I just put his stuff on the dock, and I yelled at Hutchinson, yo, dude, I ain't got a partner, you know. So they gave me Kirkpatrick, I think, as a partner, man. But it was insane, dude. Some of the stuff that used to happen to us out there fishing, man, you know.
Yeah, that was crazy. I saw Todd Sage. Todd fishing again.
Yeah.
I see
That's
him
good, man.
all the time, and he fished with us years and years ago.
Yeah,
it's good to see him.
Absolutely.
But Rich, we got a Facebook like and share, guys. If you like and share over on Facebook, we're giving away a cool prize. Rich is going to be picking a winner here real soon.
Yep.
Do we have anything else going on tonight, BTC?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we got a grand prize.
prize.
I'm going to go ahead and throw that question out on the board now. And we need a specific answer for this, guys. We're looking for a very specific word. Why does Bob choose to use lead on his soft plastics as opposed to tungsten? Why does Bob choose to use lead on his soft plastics opposed to tungsten? What was the reason for how it makes the bait work?
Yes. Good question. That's our trivia question for tonight.
That's for a pair of Hobie sunglasses and some Bass
What?
University official gear.
Yeah,
Yep.
they dope, yo.
I need more than one pair, guys. I lose them when I fall in.
Yeah, the amber lenses are dude. There's 2 other lenses. Charles just showed them to me the other day.
Mm-hmm.
They're nice. I've got to get them.
Yeah.
Really nice. They make you feel like you put them on, you just feel smarter. You know, like you could see more. You figure stuff out. Kind of see through people. Like I don't know what you're up to.
Amber lenses are key. They're brighter. They can give you better. It's what I fish out of 90% of the time. Yeah. The dark lenses are great and in bright light conditions, and even when you're running, they're great for running. But yeah, when I'm fishing and want to get depth penetration, I love that yellowish amber lens.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the deal.
So, guys, on this question, I'm seeing a lot of answers that are close coming through, like reduced fall, slower fall, all that stuff.
I want to hear
but
that
we
word.
wanna
What
hear,
was that word?
We want to hear the specific word that affects the rate of the fall. Okay, so the specific word that affects the rate of the fall. What was that? That's for the grand prize in tonight's show.
I don't even know the answer to that question. Well, we've got Champlain coming up at the Bassmaster Elite Tournament, and it is going to be it's July now. Now, typically, it's going to be interesting to see, but July is one Ticonderoga, or it's one on largemouth, or it's one with a mixed bag of largemouth and smallmouth up in the northern extremities.
Yeah.
Occasionally, it's one with pure post-spawn smallmouth.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a winner.
Occasionally.
Who we got?
Who we got?
Caden Argyle.
Yeah,
and
all right.
the correct answer is the drag
right.
that
Drag.
it puts on the bait. The lead with the larger profile creates more drag as it's going through the water. Congratulations, Caden Argyle. You won yourself a pair of Hobie sunglasses, my man. Good
awesome.
work.
Now, that's a Bass
Awesome.
University student right there.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. Well, we're going to do Riz is going to pick the winner of the Facebook like and share.
Yeah.
And we are going to have another Bass University live next Tuesday night. We got a lot of stuff going on. We've got iCast coming up. You're going to see some social posting from the Bass University down from iCast. And we've got a lot of amazing stuff coming soon. We're going to be having Bass University classes. We plan on classes opening back up. COVID has been crazy for us. But
You don't say that word.
You're going to look for us next year. It's been great. The remote classes that we've had on our Zoom Bass University classes, a bunch of great people participating, and some of the best seminars, and appreciate everybody for participating in that stuff. And a lot of that, all that stuff is going to be released and has been released already on Bass University TV. I want to thank Bob Soley.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's awesome.
It was.
Reliving those stories was priceless.
It is, man. Not for me so much. I mean, you know what I mean? probably some, I still have some pain in my body from some of those trips, but it was a lot of fun back then. And like we talked about, those are the things I miss fishing, the most was hanging out with you guys and everybody doing good. And it's kind of funny. It seems like when, I room with you, you tend to win. So, you know what I mean?
Dude, Champlain's next week. What are you doing?
Exactly, man.
Come on up, man.
I have a feeling you're gonna have a strong tournament there, man. It's in your wheelhouse, dude.
I love it. It's funny how certain bodies of water you get on and you just you feel better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't even matter if you're not catching them, because you're gonna at some point you're gonna figure something out and you just feel at home. And that's one of the bodies of water for me. I can't go there enough. Look forward to that tournament. It's going to be a Toyota series, and I'll keep you guys posted on all that stuff.
Yeah, it should be good.
Yep. Rich, we got a winner yet?
Yes, we do. Our winner of tonight's Facebook like and share is Neil Scroggins. From Isla, Georgia. Congratulations, Neil Scroggins.
Nice.
Thank you for supporting the Bass University Live.
Yes, thank you very much. BTC, we done?
Yes. Dan Handcuff, what is breaking Rich's knot? He said that's not what's breaking your knot, but then did not offer the answer. Dan over on YouTube.
What's breaking my knot then?
Yeah,
dog. Come on.
No, but they do. You can put a little rubber bead in front of it. I actually bought some.
Yeah.
But there's some suggestions there. Like I've had guys that will not throw tungsten without a plastic sheath.
Yeah.
They only will use that because of breakage.
Yeah.
The knot you're tying is the right knot. That's what I use.
The tungsten I'm using is whatever's in the cup holder of my basket.
I got strength for that. I know the struggle.
It's
we got to get you some VMC. That stuff's tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's beveled. It's nice. It'll get it done. All right. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks, Bob Soley. Appreciate you hanging out. It was a lot of fun.
That was a
reliving
lot
all
of
that
fun.
stuff.
Yeah, great show.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Look for us next Tuesday night, and a lot of great stuff coming at Bass University TV. Thanks for hanging out with us. Have a great night, everybody. Good fishing. I'm Pete Gluzak. We'll see you soon.
Moment on the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together, the One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse. Everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant.
Some have been more successful than others.
Giant.
The finesse fingernail.
Happens every time.
The chain gang.
Broke it off.
The crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter.
Not good.
Motor oil.
Gotta keep the rust off all these baits.
WD-40.
Gotta keep the rust off.
Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau Tackle Storage Systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned, American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.
Moment on the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together, the One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse. Everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant.
Some have been more successful
Oh,
than
God,
others.
giant.
The finesse fingernail,
Happens every time.
the chain gang,
Broke it off.
the crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter.
I could.
Motor oil.
Gotta keep the rust off all these baits.
WD-40.
Gotta keep the rust off.
Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau Tackle Storage Systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned, American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.
Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. Aquaview. Seeing is believing. Aquaview, the leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. Aquaview. Seeing is believing. Aquaview, the leader in underwater